Oh, yes. It is time, as I always say, truth, justice, and the Big Sills way. But we always start the program out with Big Sills on the runway to the start of the National Football League season. Oh, first and foremost, I want to thank my friend Valerie at Cox Communications. She also does a great job in Arizona with Flags for Our Fallen. I implore you guys to go online to ridersusa.net. She's been helping me make sure that what we had the other day with internet connection issues, she's been keeping an eyeball on the show. She watched the show yesterday. Thank you, Valerie, very much. You're probably watching it right now. And we so thank you for keeping an eye on the National Football Show with Big Sills. Making sure that truth, justice, the Big Sills, and the United States of America lives on and goes forward. Hallelujah, baby. Red, white, and blue right here. So we thank you, Valerie. Thank you for making it happen for us and keeping everybody on their toes to make sure the show gets off and running here. I love it. By the way, I'm going to get into, you know, John McMullen. I love him to death. And he does a great job with Xander on Birds 365. So this guy, not John, but this guy, Joe Schoen, the general manager of the New York Giants. This Hard Knocks has been the worst Hard Knocks for an organization I've ever seen. So Brian Dable and him were trying to do everything they can to move up to number 3 so that they could draft, or number 2 they were even trying to get to with Washington, so that they can draft Jaden Daniels. They knew that Washington wasn't going to trade inside the division. They knew it. And so when John says they have heart-to-heart conversations, so how in the world did you think that was going to go over? And you're Daniel Jones, and you're watching these guys talk about your replacement, and you just gave them $150 million, and you're trying to replace him. You've been trying to replace him for a year. That was just innuendo. Now it is actually on video, people saying, hey, I want to get up to get Jaden Daniels. Talented kid out of LSU. Heisman Trophy winner. And Daniel Jones is sitting there. Here's what I do if I'm Daniel Jones. Play the best I can. Get me the fuck out of here. I do not want to play for that guy. That guy does not have my best interest at heart. Get me out of here. You know the one thing that you can say about Howie Roseman, and I still believe this. How many people believe in your heart that Howie Roseman is all in on Jalen Hurts? To what extent? 95%? I don't really think Howie's in on everybody. I don't think he's in on anybody. But I think he's got a high comfort zone with certain people. Like, how about this? You think he's 90% in on Hurts? I can tell you this, the New York Giants are about what? 5% in on Daniel Jones? CJ says 85%. You think Howie's 85%? Xander, behind the scenes here, what do you think Howie is when it comes to Hurts, when it comes to all in? After watching Joe Schoen, man, that guy's got to be 5% in on Daniel Jones. If that, right? If that, he's 5% in. Joe Schoen must be the smallest office for a GM in the NFL. Hey, he looks like he's in Howie Roseman's broom closet. Right? Hey, isn't that right? Hey, Senor, please, guys, also hit the like button. Dude, that's the stupidest idea the New York Giants have ever had. That is having that stuff air out like that where you're undermining the fact of how you handled the Saquon Barkley thing. Now you're talking about how you hate your quarterback. The Giants are publicly telling you they hate their quarterback. They hate him. That's crazy. And you're paying them that kind of money. Hey, I'm going to use an Eazy-E line from Straight Outta Compton. I don't give a shit what you do. You bought it. Right? Hey, I'm going to take a line out of my guy's movie, Straight Outta Compton. Hey, I don't give a shit what you think. You bought it. That's the only way. You're Daniel Jones, man. I don't give a shit what you think. You bought it, dude. Direct deposits every Tuesday. How you doing? Right? That guy Joe Schoen's a tool. I can't believe that's a general. I could do a better job of that. There's no question that guy is not qualified for that job. He's not qualified. Howie Roseman runs circle. What was the name of that fictitious general manager in Jacksonville? The guy from Cleveland, and Kevin Costner played the GM. Who was Tim? What was his name? Who was the kid down in Jacksonville that he got and he traded for so that he could get all his picks back from Seattle? What was the name of that guy, that fictitious Jacksonville general manager? Because that's who Joe Schoen is. I'm going to start calling Joe Schoen that on Twitter. What was that guy's name that he used in that movie, man? This is the guy asking his wife to help him make a draft pick, right? No. This guy, the guy, the wife, David Tepper, was sitting next to Dan Morgan and said, I like this guy over this. This guy. Not Trent Baalke, the fake guy in draft day. Okay? Who's that? Who is that guy? Okay? Who's the guy in Jacksonville in draft day? Name of the Senor draft day. Facts. He even laughed at the owner when he said he wanted to keep Barkley. Did you see what John Mara said? I'm going to have sleepless nights knowing that Saquon Barkley's an Eagle. Jeff Carlson. That's who Joe Schoen. I got to write that down. Jeff Carlson. By the way, Rookies Today report. Jets and Commanders. They report to training camp today. Jeff Carlson. Thank you, Kyle. Jeff Carlson, a.k.a. Joe Schoen, New York Giants. Yeah, I need more. He looks like a fool. He could play in that movie. I can't believe the incompetence in New York. They used to have a guy in there, Jerry Reese, and a guy named George Young. Those guys were great. They both delivered 4 Super Bowls between them. George Young delivered 2, and then Jerry Reese delivered 2. I think Jerry Reese may have delivered 3 appearances because they got beat by the Ravens. I mean, dude, this guy, there's no chance that Giants are going anywhere. Jeff Carlson, Joe Schoen. Nice job on Hard Knocks. That right there is what you put out there why you don't do Hard Knocks. Seals, did you talk to Clint Hurd about drafting Quinyon Mitchell? Haven't got a response yet back. I'll let you know, brother. I promise. I asked that question, though. Who did Vic like more, Quinyon Mitchell or Teron Arnold? So I did. Okay? I got by on my athletic ability, not my reading. No shit, Twiz. When I went to the University of Miami, my degree folded in my wallet. How you doing? Mama, Miami education. No, when I went to Miami, bro, My degree folded in my wallet. How you doing? Hey, by the way, Serianni was asked a question. I was reading an article. Hey, did you concern yourself with being fired at the end of the year? He says this. He kind of brushes it off. Nah, I can't control any of that. Nope. Hey, guess what we've learned? You couldn't control your team, and you can't control what the Eagles are going to do to you. So basically, you have no control of anything, including yourself. That's why Big Dom's on the sideline. You know, he answered it so generically that he thought that I wasn't going to add on to it. You know, I just worried about the guys in the room. Hey, fuck that. Shut up. Don't use emotions on me. Do your job. You know, I was worried about Kelson, Fletcher. What a bunch of bullshit. I was worried about the veteran guys and what they were thinking, how hard it was on them. Hey, fuck that. It's the pro football guy. Grow up. What do you think? You're at Fork Union or wherever the hell you went to school? This ain't fucking Fork Union. I was really concerned about the fellas in the locker room and their feelings. And, you know, I knew that this could potentially be Kelsey's, Fletcher Cox's last year. Hey, fuck you. Do your job. Coach the team. Shut up. That shit is so bad and phony. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that kind of conversation. Yeah, man. You know, the Belichick stuff, I can't concern myself because all I have is the guys in front of me here. And these are my fellas and these are my guys. When I was reading this, I'm like, I almost threw up on it. I'm like, this guy's so full of shit. This is worse. And it's a waste of ink. And there's nothing he says that's truthful or genuine. What a bunch of shit. He's totally a dope. Go plant some flowers, guy. Go do me a favor, plant some pot flowers, because you're going to need a new profession soon. How the F does the University of Mount Union grad get a head coaching job? Hey, man, John Carroll also had some coaches too. John Carroll University Senior had some coaches, and one of them was Don Shula. So, knee pad Serianni got Howie's face all over him. That's really, hey, Sam, you ain't buying that. Hey, Sam, are you buying this? Hey, so, Nick, did you concern yourself in any way with being replaced at the end of the year, even though you're great record? Nah, fella. I'm pretty good. You know, I was worried about Fletch and else. I was worried about the other guys in the locker room. You know, yeah, man. My heart ached. My heart ached. Fuck you. What kind of leader are you, guy? Some gimpy guy? Jesus, criminy. What do you think you're coaching? Preschoolers? I was really concerned about everybody. Hey, I'm making $10 million, $15 million a year. I'm all right with myself. You go coach your fucking self and get this team right and put it in a good position. Don't worry about my feelings. My feelings have nothing to do with this. Well, you think I love you? I'm here to win and play football and win a Super Bowl. I'm not here to sit around here and kiss your ass and make you feel better about yourself. I could care less about that shit. I think people really have to really look at that and go, what does that have to do when you're making all that money and you're putting $200 million on the side of that football? People's feelings? Who gives a shit about people's feelings? Hey, do you have any kind of concern about Nick's feelings? When you pay $400 a ticket to walk into Lincoln Financial to buy a ticket that's a decent ticket to watch your game, you give a shit how he feels? Do you give a shit how he feels? It's about winning ball games, boy. Come on, boy. Win them games, Nikki. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your record. Nobody cares about your feelings. Do your fucking job. Please hit the like button. I thought it was stupid. It's like the guy talking in New York, Joe Schoen. He's a dope. That's a dope. That's a dopey dude. He's untrustworthy, too. Hey, man, you know what the kind of guy that makes sense? How many people saw Moneyball? And when Billy Beane was trying to teach that young kid that he got from Cleveland, and he was trying to talk to him, Jonah Hill. Remember the kid he was talking to, Jonah Hill? Played that role, that guy that came over from Cleveland. Guy goes like this. I want you to tell me how you would fire somebody. And he goes like this. Well, he goes, well, wait a minute. I just bought a house and my kid's in school. Well, you don't want to take the kids out of school. Billy Beane goes, what are you doing? Just tell the guy, hey, man, we've traded you to the Phillies. Here's Ed Wade. He's a real good guy. They'll take care of you. Travel person's downstairs. Good luck to you. We think you're a good ball player, or we wouldn't have made the trade. See you later. See you later. Worried about Kelsey's feelings and Fletcher's. Fuck that. That's exactly what Billy Beane was talking about. Okay, that's what he was saying. Just tell the guys honestly what you're thinking, and players are going to respect you. That's why when you got a great general manager, he walks into the room, he goes, this day, there's no room for you. It's not that we don't want you. There's just no room. We don't have any room. We've got to keep 6 extra wideouts. Do you know sometimes when players get cut, it comes down to numbers? Like if you're the back end of a roster, like I was, and the guy comes to you like Ron Hughes, and he comes to you and goes, listen, we're keeping 7 linebackers and we're keeping 9 DBs because of nickel. That's what they want to do on that side of the ball, which means we're only keeping 6 D linemen. 6, you usually keep 8. He goes, yeah, no, not this year. Or at least not right now. You're like, fuck. He goes, we don't want you to go anywhere. Go stay around here. We're going to keep you around. And we're like, fuck, man. It comes down to numbers sometimes on how many personnel groupings. Okay? Seriously, sometimes it just comes down to that. Hey, Sills, can you walk us through how you would actually handle yourself through the Eagles front office trying to control everything and Mo Face coach? It's a great question. You know what? To Xander's point, I actually don't think Nick's doing a poor job in navigating through that. I actually don't think he's doing that poor job. You know why? What's the one thing you notice that Serianni does in every press conference? He brings Howie's name up. Smart. Smart. I would do it too. Hey, man, we have really a lot of great coaches, a lot of great people. The new coaches are fitting in great. We get a lot of input from Howie that's so constructive and helps us so much. He's putting the right players on the field. I think we're going to really go, and we're going to make a great run at it here. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I know this. We're going to make a great run. That's exactly how I would navigate around it. It's totally how I would navigate around it. And if I was also, I'll make this point to you too. 34, if I was Serianni, I'd get to be really chummy with Vic and with Kellen. Because guess what? I don't want his loyalty to Howie. I want those 2 guys to have more loyalty towards me. And if I can't get all their loyalty, let me get some of it. Because he can't have those guys not worrying about what he thinks. Because then he becomes insignificant and he's an easy fire if they do well or not. You've got to make yourself relevant in this situation. How do you do that? Get control of your coaches. That's how I get this. It sucks because it has nothing to do with football, but that's the political front office that you have. You have a political front office. You don't have a football front office. I didn't realize that until about 2 weeks ago. You don't have a football front office. It's a political front office. Pittsburgh is a football front office. Kansas City is a football front office. The Cowboys are a political front office. The Eagles are a political front office. To some extent, the Miami Dolphins are a political front office. Anytime the owner is involved in decision-making when it comes to hiring of assistants and controls the analytics of your game plan on Sunday, they have complete control of the direction of the team. Nick can't control his players. No way Nick gets any control of Moore and Fangio. I'm not saying control. I'm saying try to get some of their loyalty. Some of their loyalty. He has to. Isn't it funny, though? This so-called great coach that's in Philly, Nick Serianni, trying to bullshit the fans again and talking to people like you're stupid. How dumb can you get? Yeah, I was really concerned about Fletcher and Jason Kelsey and how they were feeling. Hey, Nick, fuck you. Do your job. Don't worry about that shit. Don't worry about that. This guy's so weak. Yeah, you know the feelings. Feelings? What does feelings have to do with anything? These are professional people making big money with a job to do. Plain and simple. It's not about liking a guy. It's about getting the most out of the guy. That's why Vic Fangio has been around as long as he has. This guy doesn't give. You think he gave a shit what those Dolphin guys thought of him? How about this, Prince? Right? You want to know? Here's a great example of Vic Fangio style. You think those players who bellyached about Vic down there in Miami gave a shit? That you think Vic Fangio gave a shit that those players were saying or thinking whatever they were thinking? Absolutely not. You're going to do it my way or you ain't going to play. Those guys were all belly aching. And by the way, they were much improved till the injury started, and they broke a sack record with him. There's the greatest example of that. You think Vic Fangio gave a shit what Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey were thinking about him? He only gave a shit that they played. And now you got Nick Serianni up here going, I wonder what Jason Kelsey, is his final game. The players, I really felt bad after the Buck game. Shut up, guy. You sound like a worm. I mean, they're right. I'll tell you what, Cal, it's a great one. Nick Serianni has no spine. This guy has no spine. Philly 500. Mark Holmes at 3:30 Eastern. The legendary Xander Krause will be with us at 4:30 for all of you to take swipes and swings at. The co-host of Birds 365 will be with us at 4:30. We slide them up in the rotation. So Mark Holmes and Philly 500 will go after one another here at 3:30, here on a Hump Day Wednesday, Battle Royale number 6. So, yeah, I thought that was – let me check that off because I'm sick of talking about this guy. Do you know the more he talks, the warmer he looks? Honestly, I know my daughter and my wife love me. Who asked you that question? So he goes like this. Yeah, no, I know the media and everybody and the fans were getting a little bit upset. They went either way. I didn't really care because I could only control one thing. But at the end of the day, I know my kids love me and my wife loves me. Oh, isn't that sweet? So why are you being so heartless on them? Because it's a heartless job. It's a heartless league. That's why. Oh, I see. Ownership and general managers and coaches can talk to players like that. Since when are coaches off limits to their ineptness? You're not off limits. You're soft. This guy graduates Fork Union High School or whatever the college he went to. Or is it Fork Union or Union Fork? The university that he played football at? I'm not goofing. I don't know what is like Fork Union University, right? So this guy's at Fork Union University. Okay, sure. I'm sure he picked up a lot at Fork Union. Yeah, all right. Philly 500. Yes, he'll be with us today at 3:30. I love Philly 500 versus Holmes. It's like, come on, Bruce. That's not a politically correct word. You can't use that word. Hey, Bruce, you had to stop using that word. I think when they changed the name of the Washington Redskins, I think that was around the same time that word in Redskins supposedly were erased from the English language for Americans to use as being politically inappropriate. So I'm not sure, but I think they were in the same year. There was a litany of names that we couldn't use anymore. And I'm sorry. I think now also we have to use short people. We can't use that other word that rhymes with gidget. We're not allowed to use that word because it's inappropriate. So we have to go small people. It's just saying. I know, man. You have to be somewhere because you never know. YouTube might close me down too because of the way Big Sills is. Truth, justice, and the Big Sills way, as we always say. Okay? All right. Let's get into the topics here. I'm going to make a point to you about your boy here, and this is going to end this conversation about when you're talking about what do you think makes a quarterback elite in this league? What makes quarterback elite? Let's see if I can trap you into this. Let's see if I can trap you into this. What do you think makes a quarterback elite? Sills, I still use those words anyway. Oh, Kyle, you're a big, you're a revolutionary. Consistency, smart, absolutely smart. Decision making and reading defense and know what's coming. W when it matters. Reading defenses. Elite head coach, play caller. His haircut, Sills. Maybe. What do you got to say to the GM calling Josh Allen overrated? What GM said that? Then let's take a look at his quarterback. Winning when things aren't going your way. Okay, ability to adjust in games. According to people on here, it's running, not anything. Ooh, Barb goes and gets into the web here. A winning mentality. Josh Allen overrated. Yeah, right. Because he ain't got one. Jalen Hurts is overrated. Getting the job done. Okay. So let's do this. And let me ask a simple question about Jalen Hurts here to you. Does Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts need his legs to be an elite quarterback in the NFL? None of the other guys do. Not even Allen. He throws for 4,600 yards a year. How can you be elite if the Eagles are tempering that? Look at Prince. I don't think. Prince, you think that guy's an elite pocket passer? Never happened. Does Lamar need his legs? Yep. Actually, though, Lamar did lead the NFL in touchdown passes. Sills, I would say as last resort, Does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be considered elite? If Jalen Hurts and they continue to take his running away, he's not elite. You all know this. He needs his legs to be elite. That's why he wasn't elite last year. Whether you want to say he was hurt, they didn't coach him to run more, they took the RPOs out, they took the read options out. Would you not say that that was part of it? Even though when you look at those numbers, they're pretty good. But they didn't really run in the second half like that. Those were all first half numbers. That's right, Kyle. Jalen Hurts is average if he doesn't have his wheels. There completely is the difference in the quarterbacks in the NFL that the other guys think more of, is because if Hurts doesn't have both, and more notably his legs, he can't be an elite player. Those guys don't need their wheels. He does. Him and the guy in Baltimore. Right? You're not going to line up Jalen Hurts without running the ball and drop him back 45 times in a game and think you're going to beat Patrick Mahomes, because you're not. Prince, I'm asking you a question. Plain and simple. Does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be the elite player in the NFL? Yes or no? Just a question. Does he? Yes or no? And if you say no, Prince thinks that he's in the same category as Justin Herbert from the pocket, that he can throw the ball like that. He can't. He can't read defenses. Great Coach Sell said it. How could you be an elite passer when you can't read defenses? Get this. He said no. He doesn't need his wheels. When Greg Cosell and everyone in the league says he can't read defenses, but he said no. It shows you how dumb that is. So a guy who can't read a defense and doesn't need his legs, Jalen Hurts is elite. If I took his legs away, he ran only for like 138 yards this coming season, like everyone else does. He's an elite passer from the pocket. What does a 31st defense have to do with his ability? I'm not talking about that side of the ball. I'm talking about him. His skill set. Does he need his legs? Has nothing to do with the Eagle defense. Has nothing to do with it. And with two number one receivers can't throw 25 touchdowns. I'm just asking a question. I'm going to prove a point. It's not Hurts. Once again, these people just make up excuses for Hurts. It's embarrassing. Daniel, this is why keep an eye on what they're going to teach him and want him to do. Sills, Hurts intangibles make him an elite athlete, but require you run a certain scheme. Mahomes' intangibles make him an elite quarterback that can play in any scheme. It's what makes him a little different. Right. Brady can't play in Jalen Hurts' scheme. I don't think Tom Brady could play in Mahomes' scheme. He couldn't play in that. He has no legs. He can't run. He has no ability to run. If Hurts doesn't have his leg, Tom Brady, get this. Tom Brady is elite based on one thing, his arm. Jalen Hurts is some of you think he's elite based on his legs and his arm. He needs more to have it work for him. And if one of those is hurt, a shoulder, a knee, there's more things that go wrong with dual threat guys. That's why they're not consistent. When you have a pocket passer and he blows his knee out, so what? Tom Brady blew his knee out. He won 4 Super Bowls after that. Nobody cared. Peyton Manning hurt his neck. Won a Super Bowl in Denver. Peyton Manning was never considered anything that could run or an athlete. You take, once again, the legs make him elite. Last year, what turned that tide on him was not the fact that his interceptions, which I do think played some of the naysayers this year, but it was the ability, the way he ran the ball last year, especially in the second half of the year, that turned people like this. That was even in the evaluation on him. He just didn't seem like he ran like he did a year ago. They weren't explosive plays. And without those explosive run plays, Hurts is not elite. He's another guy back there. He's Tyrod Taylor. He's Teddy Bridgewater. He's one of them dudes. But put the wheels back on it. He's special. Put the wheels back on it. He's a special guy. And like I said yesterday, this is not a conversation about a bad football player. This is a conversation more about how they are coaching him. Who cares if he uses his legs? We just want Super Bowls. Well, you're not getting there if you don't have his legs, busy. If they don't run him at least 175 times this year, you're not going anywhere. Get this. You know the number you need to have? You need to have about 180 carries. Let's take a look. Hey, Crowley or Kyle, do me a favor. If I'm not mistaken, I like Kyle. Kyle's a very numbers guy, and I like it. Kyle, do me a favor. I'm doing this off the top of my head right now. Hurts missed 2 games, right? In 22. I think he had 165 carries that season in 22. And if I'm not mistaken, it averaged about 12. It came out to about 12 carries a game. So for those two, 24, 165 and 24. This guy needs about 190 carries this year for you to get back to the Super Bowl. He don't carry the ball 190, you ain't going anywhere. Your success relies in his feet, not his arm. Do you agree with that? Jalen Hurts' success. By the way, when Jalen Hurts was a force running the ball, both guys on the wide, Y and Z, they both got 1,000 yards still. Didn't affect them. But if you don't run the ball 190 times and you don't have him, not Barkley, as one of your more established players in the run game, you're not going anywhere. Tony says 165 carries. Tony, am I right when I say this? He had 100. So I was right. 165 carries. He missed 2 games, which basically comes out to what? Because they didn't really run him in that final last game of the year, which came out to about 12 carries a game, right? About 12. So that's 24. That's actually 189. This guy needs 190 carries a year. He gets 190 carries. If he doesn't get 190 carries, you're not going anywhere. Your Super Bowl relies on his legs, not his arm. That's what makes him elite. His arm doesn't make him elite. The legs do. Because they overcompensate for his inabilities not to be able to read defenses. This is all figured out. This is what coordinators probably figured out at the end of last year. This is where he is. Why Kellen Moore was brought in to expand the passing game. It's totally now made sense. I see why they brought Kellen in. They're not changing Jalen Hurts. But what they are doing is they're going to try to do everything they can to have a better 23 season. Because that is what they're at. They have nothing, they have no plans of doing anything 22. Why would you spend $10 million on a running back then? It all makes sense now. You don't hand the ball off to Jalen Hurts 190 times if you just gave a guy $10 million to run the ball for you, and that's not something that your organization does. Hurts is going to be less of a runner, which makes him even lesser elite. All figured out. You guys think he's going to have a bounce back year? A bounce back year? No. It's going to be a year where his numbers are less. That's why Vegas has him at 3,500 yards, because Barkley's addition. Would they have 3,600 passing yards? That's the lowest he's had since the first year he started in 2021. I thought he was getting better. Even Vegas now, the guys who put the number down and the guys who put the bag of money down are saying he's going to have a year where he's going to throw for 3,600 yards. Why is that? Well, Barkley's in the room. There's going to be more attention to him than is. I don't know why you're paying the quarterback $50 million then. Okay. Jalen needs to study the tablet when he's sitting on the bench waiting to go back instead of staring into space. He just needs to be a better reader of defenses or continue to get better. Okay, I'll take the over. Okay, what, 38? So they tend to disagree. Hurts needs the threat of using his wheels to be successful. They removed the threat in 23. He needs to be magic and distribute the ball, keep the D off balance. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that, Bob. You're not going to give a guy $10 million when the organization really doesn't make any investment. You've had 2 Pro Bowl running backs the last 2 years, and you refuse to pay them. One guy got 7. Get this. Think about it, Bob. The Eagles went like this. They let Miles Sanders go for 7 a year down in Carolina. Now they just let DeAndre Swift go for $8 million in Chicago. Both guys were Pro Bowlers. They had no problems not paying them and moving off them. You turn around now, give Barkley $10 million? They gave Barkley $10 million because they want to take the RPO and the run option away and the read option away. Hey, do I think you're right? I do. I've been saying it. But here, the question today was, does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be an elite ball player? Absolutely. So does Lamar Jackson. Yes, sir. That style is not going to win you Super Bowls, though. We've been talking about this. See, this is why, again, you say, is Kellen Moore the right offensive coordinator? Yet to be determined. Isn't that crazy? How in the world can you say you're going to have a successful season when you don't even know if your fucking coordinators are going to fit? You're not going to know if you have a good football team until the first month of the season. And then you're going to be able to get a little bit whether or not it's fool's gold or not. You're going to have to look through the number and the record like I did last year. I never thought you were a good team. No, I'll take that back. I thought you were a good team. I didn't think you were a Super Bowl team. I never did. I never thought that team was a Super Bowl team. I never thought Jalen would fall off the cliff like he did. And I didn't think that. I thought that defense would get better by week 10. But because the offense sputtered towards the middle of the season, then the changing of the guard at coordinator on defense, everything fell to shit over that. Both sides of the football. You know what they didn't do last year? They didn't give the defense a chance to catch up because they fired a guy after 10-2. You don't know if that defense would have turned it around after the 49er Cowboy games. He had put up good success. You had no idea. Then what happened? They couldn't stop anybody and get off the field on third down. And when the offense went through 3 and outs and poor offensive sequences, field position became a problem, and you were in a fight every game, like Lane Johnson said towards the end of the season. And then by the end of the season, what happened? The whole thing fell to pieces because you couldn't keep playing from behind. And I'll tell you this, to your benefit, think about this for a second. I want to show you something that was pretty damn good a year ago. Okay? 14-3, right? You guys got to a point where you were 10-2. You were 25-5. You had won 25 of 30 ball games. Going to a Super Bowl and coming back the following year is fucking unbelievable. It's so good. You ran out of gas. You just ran out of gas, too. It happens. How many times do we see teams that win Super Bowls the following year, they don't even make the playoffs? They don't even make the play. Hey, and let me ask you something. Why in the world would you fire a coordinator and all of that when you were 25-5? Do you understand you fired your defensive coordinator when you had won 25 of 30 ball games? You think that was a knee-jerk reaction there? 24-5 you were. You were 24-5. And you fired your coordinator. 29 ball games, you win 24 of them. Why? What made you think that was coming off a Super Bowl, you were doing remarkable things back to back. Why would you hurt yourself as an organization and hurt the players like that and self-sabotage? You could say whatever you want about Brian Johnson and Sean Desai a year ago. There was a point where they were 24-5. And you blow them out? $24-5. And what still kills me, you come off a Super Bowl knowing full well you have a very good team coming back, and your first inclination as a front office or head coach, whomever you want to put this on, to hire people with no experience whatsoever. None. How'd you come to that conclusion? You know why? Because one of them was in the organization, and the other one was a disciple of Vic Fangio. You hired Vic Fangio's teacher. Will Vic Fangio get a better result than Desai? Let's see after 12 games this coming season how Vic's defense looks compared to Desai's defense. I'll tell you one thing we've seen. Last year's coordinators couldn't match up to Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. Do you think these coordinators are going to match up to what they did this year, going up to 12 games? Beating all those teams they beat a year ago? You guys are not looking at, it's not the coordinator's problems, it's the quarterback's problems. And the lack of talent on defense that caused those meltdowns, and the front office still, again, being too hands-on and micromanaging. Sills, creative play can help Hurts with rollouts. They can. Misdirection screens, jet sweep, shit like that, right? Max protection. If you have an innovative OC, your thoughts. And look, I think what Xander says about him, I think Xander's right. I think Nick, I think he's you know why he's a talented guy? Because he played the position as well. You know, he's kind of like a young Frank. Okay? He's kind of like a young Frank Reich. Both guys played the position, backups. You know, I think you have a really good eye for the game when you're a backup like that. Seals, do you have anything good to say about this team? Geez, come here every day to negativity. I asked, you think asking a question whether or not that Jalen Hurts needs his legs to be considered an elite quarterback in the NFL is negative, or the truth? So the truth is negative to you. Sorry. Well, dude, you had a negative year last year. If you're not hoisting a Lombardi, you had a decent season. Nothing to write home about, especially when you're spending the money you're spending. I didn't get my return on my investment last year. What are you happy about? He was hired by JAKIB Sports to hate on teams because people who talk shit on the Eagles and the media thinks negativity means more viewers. Hey, fuck that, David. I don't do shit because of that stuff. I do shit for what I say and what I think for 34 years. Are you out of your mind? I don't do that for you, for anyone. My history of me talking about the Hurricanes, talking about the Bucks, this is not a one-thing item where I attack the Eagles. I say what I see, whether it's my Hurricanes, the Buccaneers, or any team. I've been fired because, or no, barred from the University of Miami by an old shitty coach, Al Fuckface Golden. Okay? Because I said, he's like, we're building champions here in Miami. I said, you're building champions through where? New Jersey? I don't want New Jersey recruits. I want South Florida kids. Belglades, Overtown, Liberty City. Then you plug in with those kids from PA or Ohio or places like that. You have to win your local recruiting battles. You know why? Because Alabama is. You know, Alabama's last national championship, every kid was from the city of Miami in their secondary. Every kid was from South Florida. And I went into their ass over it. This isn't something that I sit here and do. Well, let me see what Dave thinks. Dave and Cherry Hill. What do you think of the Eagles season this year? You sound like Rob Ellis. Cells. I'm sorry you have idiots in the chat. People can't praise the truth. You don't get the truth like you do here. Love the show. Thank you, Cosmo. Sills is a pocket Florida Miami Hurricane. We got Warren Sapp out of there. That's kind of Florida State and Gator country, though, but kind of. Sills, Golden didn't bar you. Donna Shalala did. Maybe, okay, that could have been too, because I hate her too. I can't stand her hiring Barry Alvarez. What would he possibly know about winning championships? Honest to God. What would he possibly know? Don't give me the National Football Show. This is an Eagles channel. Dave, no, it's not. This is a Dan Sileo channel. This is a Dan Sileo channel. You got the wrong idea, guy. Seals, you can't say Desai was 24-5 as our defensive coordinator. He wasn't even on the staff in 22. Okay, you're right. It was Gannon. So he was 10-2. You're right. Brian Johnson was on the staff. He was the quarterback coach. So he was 24-5. Correct. Thanks. You're right. Desai wasn't. He was in Seattle, I think, with Carroll as special assistant. Okay, I think he was there. Seals, who's your favorite baseball player? Shohei Ohtani. Okay. Danny, some people are dense. It's all you talk about. Yeah, it's all I talk about. We're based in Philly. I talk about other teams. I got the guy from the Cowboys coming on at 3:30. I like the show because the guy running it tells the truth, whether I like it or not. Pro. Dude, Pro, do you know that that's one of the greatest comments that I've gotten my entire broadcasting career? Is that after a while I'm not sitting here trying to make you mad. I'm sitting here trying to just point out why you're not great. Hey, and one thing too, Pro. You know what Eagle fans in here don't get? If you're comfortable with just being good and you want to hear people raving about you just being good and being 1-3 in Super Bowls, maybe my show's not for you. When you're as good as an organization when it comes to certain things, because they do a lot. I would say that the Eagles do probably 7 of the 10 things it's necessary to win a Super Bowl. Whereas a team like Arizona does 1 thing out of 10 to potentially win a Super Bowl. Okay? Hey, this is always my favorite kind of thing here. Look at LJ. Seals, you never won shit in the NFL. I want to show you guys something. One thing you'll always just have to remember, and I say this with great respect to all of you. In 105 years of the National Football League, there has been only 24,000 men that have ever played in the league. Have ever played. And there's only 16,245 of us still alive to this day. You have a better chance of being an astronaut than you do play pro football. You got a better chance at being an astronaut than you do. J.J. Whiteside, yeah. He's one of the 16,245. Yeah. So whatever you think of me, I'm one of those men. Sorry. Oh, that leads me to this one here. Hang on. Oh, so by the way, one thing's for sure. I like this, man. I get what you guys are doing. You guys are mostly like trying to be like people, like trying to take people off the ball. But I'll ask you one last time before we move on to a different topic here. Does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be considered elite? Yes or no? Johnny and drafted. Does he? Sills, this organization does not act to resolve issues. The boardroom boys do not understand how important chemistry is. They overreact to show they know what they are doing and are in control. Yes. Right now, yes, Kyle says. That's a good take, Kyle, because maybe he can develop into that. Yes. If you're talking about just extending plays, yes. If we're talking about running for yardage and touchdowns, no, I'm talking about his entire ball game. I'm talking about his entire ball game. Kush says no, he can be a great pocket passer. Well, let me know when he can read a defense. Hey, I'm hoping he can read a book. Okay? Because he can't read a defense. But he can squat 600 pounds. He can squat 600 pounds. You got to love that. He won't win a Super Bowl if he's running for 700 yards and 12 TDs a year. Well, that's true too. But it's the only way he's going to get back to the game, because he ain't going to get back to the game sitting in the pocket throwing the ball 40 times a game. He's not. He's not that skilled. He's not that skilled as a passer. Everyone now sees it. He can't read defenses. That's okay. It's going to take a couple of years for him to learn how to do it. Get this. You know why Mahomes can cover it? Because Mahomes is gifted as a passer. Jalen's not. Jalen's developed. I never thought Brady. Hey, how many people thought Brady coming out of Michigan was an elite passer? Look at the two things that made Tom Brady great. What were they? He worked on his passing game when it came to arm strength, and he learned how to read. Can I think about what he did? That had nothing to do with athleticism and being these dual threat guys. Like, he had nothing to do with it. He worked on arm strength, throwing routes, pre-snap reads, and reading defenses. That's what made him a 7-time Super Bowl. Wasn't running the football, wasn't being a dual threat guy. It was winning in the pocket. You think a dual threat guy will ever win 7 Super Bowls? Do you? Do you think a dual threat quarterback will ever win 7 Super Bowls? Do you think that style of play will win 7 Super Bowls? Never happened. Busy goes, I think it's possible, when every one of the major guys today are not, except for Lamar. Nobody's winning 4 dual threat. Dude, if a quarterback ever won 4 Super Bowls like Michael Vick, how about this? Let's put this into proper perspective. How many people believe that Michael Vick is better at Jalen Hurts where he is right now in his career? Don't you think Vick was better than him after 4 years in the league? Does anybody in here believe that Jalen Hurts is a better player than Michael Vick was? Games changed. Rules are a little different. Okay. You could throw the ball now. You don't hit the quarterback. Steve Young was not just a guy who moved around a lot. He moved more like Aaron Rodgers. But that guy was a passer that led the NFL in passing percentage every year. Look at how many times Barbie led the NFL in pass completion percentage. Look at his interception to touchdown ratio. How many people believe that Michael Vick was not better than Hurts his first 4 years? Vick in his prime was better than Hurts. I think his prime was early. Well, maybe we don't know. Maybe his prime was in Leavenworth. You know, that could have been part of his prime, was when he was in Leavenworth. He was actually in Leavenworth. That guy's not better than Vick. Vick got where? How far did Vick go? NFC Championship game, or that game where he beat the Packers up there in Lambeau? Something like that. That was Kaepernick up there too. Right? It doesn't matter who's better. I want a winner, and Vick was a loser. Well, let me ask you this here, David. Do you think Jalen Hurts is better than what Cam Newton was early in his career? Cam was an NFL MVP, got a team to a Super Bowl. You think he's better than Cam? He ain't better than Cam. Okay, so 2 guys who had that kind of style of play. One guy got to a Super Bowl, did exact. You think Jalen Hurts is going to have a better career than Cam Newton? Do you? I don't. Hurts is better than Cam. Can you name one wide receiver Cam Newton had? Can you name one? Name me one receiver Cam had. Steve Smith, I think, was there. I thought Steve was there more with Jake Delhomme. Steve Smith's a great player. So he had one. Ted Ginn Jr. blew. So he had one wide receiver and a tight end. Great. He had two. Fantastic. Ted Ginn Jr. Steve Smith and Greg Olsen. Great. Jalen's got Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert, and the best O-line in football. Yay! Who did more with less? Cameron Newton. And he was a horse. I'm telling you, if you see that guy in person, if you see him in person, you're stunned. You're absolutely stunned. If Hurts doesn't make it in Philly, he'll be looking for jobs around the league like Wentz. Vic had a great arm, powerful arm too. Okay, powerful arm. Powerful arm. Okay. Before we get into the second topic here, don't forget, bottom of the hour, Mark Holmes, Dallas Cowboy honk, and Philly 500 are going to join us. I saw this and I wanted to make sure that I wrote this down here. I want to show you something here. And I had to bring this up. So the one thing we'll always get from the National Football League will always be the truth, because why? The Green Bay Packers are a public company, and they'll always have to they'll always have to show the money that they generate, because they're a publicly held stock. They've got to open their books. So the National Football League's Green Bay Packers last year made $654 million. 255 of that money goes towards the salary cap, which means the National Football League has about $400 million. $400 million to put in their pockets. And when you have a league that doesn't give a shit about benefits for players that played in the league for long-term health care, and you just let those people rot like apples in a barrel, and you don't give a fuck about them, don't you people ever in here ever tell me or ever back a league or a team like the Eagles, or think I will, when those greedy son of a bitches don't give a shit about anything but bottom line. They could care fucking less about player wealth, about their health. They could care about their well-being. They could care about their... When you hear some of the shit that comes out of their holes on Park Avenue, okay? And I'm obligated as an NFLPA member to let you know, don't ever let those son of a bitches get over on you, because they don't have your best interest. Ownership, they're the enemy. Always will be. Yeah, but the owner's really a nice... No, he's not. No, he's not. Oh, they're not. Do you know when you're a Major League Baseball player, the day you step into a Major League Baseball dugout, do you know you get lifetime benefits? Do you know when you step on an NBA court for the very first time, you have long-term health care for the rest of your life? I'm jealous of their unions for sure. Our union are lapdogs for Roger Goodell, especially when you see the kind of money. Just think about that. I mean, in 2 years, Jeffrey Lurie's going to make $1 billion off you. Hey, more power to him. But the people that help make the league, they don't give a shit about. They're hoping all of them die. They still don't believe CTE is caused by hits to the head. Hey, every time you see a number like that, you know what I do? I immediately start laughing at you. When some of you take the side of ownership, when it comes to, well, he really likes that player. They really like him. No, they don't. They don't like anybody. They see value in people. You're an asset. Jason Kelce is an asset, or he wouldn't be in the building. No matter if they liked him or not, it has nothing to do with it. He's an asset. Players and coaches are assets to owners. That's it. Nothing more. Just assets. Yeah, but they really like it. Do they? Really fucking love them. I'm sure they do. Okay. Seals, your union chief signed a contract right before this new TV contract was released. Why in the hell? Yeah, and also this too, Bob. Like Brady said, how come the NFL revenue went up, but when COVID hit, the NFL owners used it as a way to lower the salary cap so that the players didn't get paid? How did COVID only affect the players and not the owners? How did that happen? Brady brought that up. That was Tom Brady bringing that up. Why did the salary cap go down? Revenue didn't. The revenue in the league went up. The owners profited more because you know why? They lost attendance money. Not that that truly matters like it used to. 97.5 voted Kelce as Football Center as the greatest Philadelphia athlete in the last 25 years. Dude, you mean to tell me you think Jason Kelce is a better athlete in the last 25 years than fucking Iverson? Come on. Come on. He's the better he's a better athlete than Iverson in the last 25 years. I saw ESPN's coming out with the top 100 athletes of the 21st century. Roland, Iverson is a generational player. Iverson is a guy that changed the way the league looked. Iverson's story is iconic. He's by far one of the absolutely most important Philadelphia sports figures to ever live. Jason Kelce's fine to put on a list, and it's recent biasy, but he is not in Iverson's league. And I would even make this point to you. One of the most he may be one of the greatest players in Eagle history, and he is. Make no mistake about that. But iconic Philadelphia sports figures, if I had to put in the 21st century, since ESPN's doing that, I'll do it here. In the 21st century, here's who I would put. in Philly's Mount Rushmore? Who would you put in the Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia for the 21st century? I can't wait to see who ESPN. By the way, I'll do it nationally here in a second. I was going to kind of hang on to this until a little bit later. But if you had to put 4 people, no, since 2000, Barb, since 2000, who would you put in there since 2000? Well, you know one of them for me is Iverson. '21st century, Iverson, I think belongs on that list. Chase Utley, Brian Dawkins. Does Bryce Harper belong on that list? Ryan Howard. I think Brian Dawkins belongs on that list. Got 2 more. On last topic, I have yet to see an African-American pocket passer, and you still won't see one because next year's draft, you have Milroe, an RPO guy. One last topic, I have yet to see an African-American pocket passer. I think CJ Stroud is, Disciple. I think he is. I think he's a pocket passer. I think Loves looks like a pocket passer. I would say that he looks like more of a pocket passer. Before I get Mark Holmes in here, because ESPN is doing that list now of the top 100 athletes in the 21st century, I would put Iverson, Dawkins, Harper, would you put Foles there? Beat Brady, beat Belichick. One of the most iconic moments in Eagle history. Iverson, Dawkins, Harper. You could put Kelsey there, I guess. Bernard Hopkins, great fighter. One of the greatest middleweights, welterweights in the history of boxing. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. All right. We're expecting our friend also, Philly 500, to join us. That will be at the bottom of the hour here. But Dallas Cowboys are getting ready to report to camp, and I got to throw this right off of Mark here in a second here. But just want you guys to take heed here, seeing how much money the National Football League makes when it comes to how they look at their players. Eric Snow, okay, butts in the seats are not the NFL customers' tickets is a tip, correct? I would say this. Who's the last one we put in there? Iverson, Dawkins, Harper. Would you put Kelsey in there? On your Mount Rushmore? Kelsey or Foles? Probably something like that. Maybe even Andy Reid. All right. Got to tell you here, man. Cowboys getting ready to go to training camp here. And let's bring in our friend Mark Holmes, the Dallas Cowboy, voice of the Dallas Cowboys. Mark Holmes. How you doing, brother?
What the hell's going on here? You're bringing me in early. It's only 3:20.
Oh, you don't want to come in?
Well, no, I wasn't ready. I was sitting here talking about Beautiful Bride and everything else. Yeah, let me get my pants back on and stuff.
Hold on for a second. Does she go out in Vermont with you and deliver?
Yes, she did. Yes, she was there.
The maple syrup, and you guys went out helping everyone. That's great.
No, I got to tell you. See, I got a ride, or it's not just a ride or die bride. she's a ride and die and resurrect, because she could literally die and she gonna come back, man. She is my everything.
Well, here, just so you know the kind of relationship that I have with my old lady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've never met somebody I hated more in my life, and I've never met anybody that I loved more in my
That
life.
love hate.
And I've said this to her, and I've never had anybody talk more shit to me in my life. I've never had. Now my daughter's starting to pick this up. Here, I'll give it to you. So we're at the beach, Mark, and there's this lady sitting there, and Danielle's giving me a ton of shit about something. I'm just laying there, and she's like, and I looked over at her and I go, "Shut up, right? Bury you where the crabs are." And the lady looks over. She's like, oh. My daughter goes just like this. Don't worry. He won't do it. This guy can't move. Don't worry about it. So I'm sitting there and the lady starts laughing at me. I go, I have no place in my house any longer. I'm more of like I carry the wagon. I do shit like that. So yeah, no, I've been delegated to being like, I'm more of like the grounds crew.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm in
definitely me. Yeah, I mean, I've got like this much space in the closet. I've got certain rooms that are mine. But pretty much the rest of the house is all hers. That's fine. Just leave me my sports room, my man cave, my workshop, and I'm happy.
Hold on here. This is what people are dubbing you.
Oh Lordy, here we go.
The voice of Dak Prescott.
Before we get into that, though, and I know you're going to have Philly 500 in here, I was curious about your take about Skip Bayless.
Okay.
And this is kind of
former reporter.
Yeah.
Was one of the guys that reported on the Pony Express and the SMU story. Was one of the guys that was there writing a book about the Dallas Cowboy dynasty that was in the 90s, worked in Chicago at the Tribune, worked in Los Angeles. One of the most important sports personalities that we have ever had in this country, and was one of the first people to take his column and put it into context on television. I think the first guy to really do that, in my opinion, was Tony Kornheiser. I think Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon, that PTI show, to me, in my opinion, is the greatest sports show that's ever been on ESPN. They don't promote it as much. But what Skip did, that Cold Pizza was a horseshit show. It was terrible. But they put him on. Then he brought Stephen A. Smith aboard. And here's the story with Smith. Smith was a Philadelphia Inquirer columnist, but anytime that he got on the radio, he sucked. He's just not good on the radio. Every show that he's ever had, he's ever failed. However, that doesn't mean you should stop. So both these guys found a niche on television. And so Skip and him started transforming that Cold Pizza into First Take. Then Skip really was hot early and then moved on and moved up to get that $18 million a year deal for Fox. Here's what's happened with him, though. Cowboys, LeBron James, ripping Aaron Rodgers because of vaccination shit. If you notice, he has no white analyst, male, on Undisputed right now whatsoever, to where he doesn't have balance like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has balance. They have balance in the topics. And Skip has tried to make it into a political kind of agenda. I think we need more African Americans in broadcasting for sure. But the only people he has on is Rachel Nichols, and he has black analysts on. He doesn't have the variety that Stephen A. has, and Stephen A. has brought more diversity, believe it or not, to his show, and that's what people tune in for. They want to see white and black. They want to sell white and black like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. That shit sells. The news industry sells it. Think about it, Mark. Fox and CNN, they sell race every day to us. They make a living on it. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you don't go overboard.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think you're looking too deep.
Well, no, because this is to move a guy like Skip Bayless off the show. It has to be this, because he also did this. He never evolved. And
there
he
you
didn't
have it.
evolve.
Now you're actually getting it.
He didn't evolve into what Stephen A does. Stephen A went like this. Well, let me bring Shannon on. Dude, he knew and everyone knew. When Shannon Sharp left that show, that was the end of it. And so when he left that, it without a doubt was the death knell. There's no coincidence. 18 months later, Skip Bayless is now, his last job is before the start of the NFL season. They don't want him going into the NFL season doing a Dallas Cowboy pregame show. I mean, that's all he does is talk to Dallas Cowboys. He talks nothing else. And then he tries to rip Mahomes. And he like the thing with LeBron. Here's the thing before we get Philly 500. Here's the thing with LeBron. How in the world can you actually still sit there and try to say that LeBron James doesn't have a clutch gene when he's won 4 NBA championships, 3 in 3 different cities? He's the all-time leading scorer. He is the antithesis of what you would have in a college on how you teach how a poor kid went to being a billionaire. He's never been in trouble. He exemplifies himself in his image like nobody's else. And for him to rip that guy, in my opinion, you may not like his politics, but he's a case study, LeBron, in what he's brought to sports. And Skip just kept banging on that. No one wants to hear it anymore, dude. No one wants to hear it.
I see. I'm going to actually have a different take on that because, see, this is something that you and I have kind of talked about because the difference of radio guys and stuff and now YouTube. And most guys who come to YouTube figure, oh, this is just easy. I'm a great character and I've got my resume and everything else. Everybody else should just slide out of the way. But I think the dynamics have changed where it's a 2.5 hour show. Everybody wants what they want right now. And so to watch a 2.5 hour show to get, maybe 10 minutes of Cowboys, or maybe if you're another team getting nothing, that people have just kind of moved on and moved away from that. And I think you're kind of seeing that because you see the NFL Network basically is going to sell themselves to ESPN. They jettison all of their talking heads and everything else. People aren't sitting down to watch 2 or 3 hours worth of program.
No, they're not, because streaming now has absolutely made it so where it is. By the way, Stephen A. Smith has done a better job because he's got a wide variety of hosts. Everybody is involved in it, and they're really good people. When you isolate yourself, and by the way, putting rappers on, I mean, Ice Cube comes on my show, and Ice Cube owns the big three. Putting rappers on to talk about the Cowboys, I don't care. I mean, especially rappers I've never heard of. Outside of Lil Wayne, I like Lil Wayne, but the other guys, I've never heard of them. So I don't know what your agenda is when you're doing that. It just doesn't make sense.
Like the whole show just kind of got dry.
Yeah, it went off the rails.
And it didn't really evolve at all. And you can say First Take is kind of evolved, and Stephen A. Smith.
He has evolved it.
Yeah, it definitely. And that's where they were kind of left behind. And
absolutely.
Even when you watch Skip Bayless, if you watch him on his YouTube channel where he's doing his podcast, he's so monotone and it's just dry. And
I see what you're doing here. You're trying to stop the man, the myth, the legend from coming on here. And
here we go.
I know what you're doing. Hey, Joe Biden, you're not that good at what you do here either. Okay, hang on here. Philly 500.
I forgot about Philly 500 because he doesn't show up that often anymore.
Oh, well, wait a minute. He has a job during this time.
Oh, and
he has obligations.
The black guy is just unemployed.
I never signed a contract saying I'll come every Wednesday like Mark Holmes did.
Oh, wait. So
I'm not under contract.
Unemployed and just sitting around waiting.
I ain't under contract.
Look at him, mate. Look at him, Philly 500. Look at him add that in, just like everybody else. I'm just asking.
You said he has a job he has to go to.
But why did it have to go to the black guy thing? Who said that?
I'm just saying. No, wait. You're like, well.
By the way, I always thought you were Middle Eastern.
Oh Lordy! You know what? I'm American, man. I'm an American mutt, man. I got a little bit of everything from Irish, Indian, black. Who knows what else I got in me? I'm just an American mutt. How about that?
You are awesome here, man. All right.
All I did was
how you doing, Philly? I haven't seen you in a long time.
I come on the channel. Look how worked up this guy gets already. I didn't even say nothing. And he's already He's already going at me because he's
What,
so
why
nervous.
does he make you so nervous, Mark?
Make me nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Come on.
no. I
What are you
just get
sweating me
excited
for?
because I'm just used to seeing so much energy from Philly 500. I'm just trying to match it with him. He
See,
is
the thing
just
is I've heard
dynamo.
people have told me lately Mark Holmes has gone off the deep end. He has gone crazy, is what I'm hearing. What has been going on with you the last few days? You're going nuts. You're making what, 80 videos a
I'll
day?
be
Or taking
honest with you.
12-hour breaks? What the hell's going on, Mark?
No. I tell you what, I have to say that this offseason has been like the Sahara Desert. It's like it's nothingness. It's all sand. And every so often you think you see something. Oh my God, is that a contract signing? And it's a mirage.
I
Oh
know
my God,
for us.
is that a
We got
free agent?
I
plenty
know
of
what it
water.
was. You were in mourning because the president may have been killed.
We've been drinking.
Okay, we'll stay away from politics and all that here. I got enough shit to deal with the Cowboys and Jerry
We've
Jones.
been drinking all off season. Eagles, plenty of
paternity
water. No
suits and all
Sahara
that.
here.
But I am just happy that come this time next week, my team will be on the field so we can be talking about practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wait, was that
right.
the playoff noiser?
Listen, Mark. I think actually Mark is actually nervous.
We sitting here. I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about.
I know why he does this all the time.
Does what?
See, I think Mark is nervous about the season beginning because he's out of excuses. There are no more excuses.
Wait, hold.
Dak Prescott, he don't have this. He don't have that. He don't have a contract. Oh, Dak Prescott,
in other words,
my poor baby doll. Let me rub your toes, Dak. Come on, it's all
to Philly's
over
point, though. To Philly's point, do you think Jerry Jones is tanking this season?
I don't know what they're doing, to be quite honest. Now, there are some rumors. There are some rumors out there that Michael Thomas and
you ready?
What? No, that they're bringing him in for a workout on Friday.
How about this? They've contacted Duke.
They've cut who?
Somebody in the organization of the Cowboys has contacted Duke Tobin.
Okay.
Of the Bengals about the availability of T. Higgins.
So wait a second. Why? So you're saying if they're going to go after T. Higgins, then bye CeeDee Lamb is what you're saying, right?
No.
How are you going to get both?
An extra weapon.
Because he's right now on a franchise tag deal.
Yeah,
he's got $14 million
holding out, right?
What? He signed a franchise. No, he signed a franchise tag deal. And he's
CeeDee Lamb's holding out, right?
CeeDee Lamb is holding out. Yeah.
So if you can't even take care of your own wide receiver, how are you going to go get somebody else's wide receiver?
The funny thing is
cost them $14 million this year. The other guy's going to cost them $35 million.
The one thing I'm worried about.
Hey, Philly, I don't know if they get that. It'd be hard for me to believe that Jerry's not going to re-sign his own guys.
Yeah, here's the thing. We all go through the same stuff every time when it comes to a contract. The Cowboys were going to get rid of Zeke. They were going to get rid of D-Law and so on. They get them done. They like the drama. They love the drama. We were here last year with Zach Martin.
Great.
People were talking about, Zach Martin, he could be traded. The Cowboys, as much as I hate it, it's about making as much noise as possible. They'll get CD signed. They may wait until later on to go ahead and get Dax just to go ahead and save some more cap room later on. If it's done after November, then
this
it's on.
Like talking about the Osborns.
Beautiful. This
is
beautiful. Sign them all.
You know what, Dan? That's why you have me on here.
No, it's like the Osborns. It's like the Kardashians. It's like the Dallas Kardashians. I mean, criminy, can we talk football ever with that team? Or does it have to be the drama, hey, they like to talk. How about winning some ball games?
Well, we did win 12 the last 3 years. We have beat the Eagles a couple of times, I believe. I think we beat them a couple of times. I get it. It's about the playoffs and stuff. But here's the thing right here. As my son says that, Mark's running out of excuses. Well, if we listen to everybody out there, we should just suck. There shouldn't be any expectations for the Dallas Cowboys, right? The coaches.
Well, I'm not specifically talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
Players, they don't bring in anybody else, so there shouldn't be any expectations. If the Cowboys win 8 games, they should be praised because they suck so bad.
I want to ask Philly 500 this question, and then I want you to respond with yours too here. What NFC quarterback is under the most pressure in 24? Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. I was going to throw Purdy and Golf in there, but why don't we just do those two because of the 2 people we have now? What NFC quarterback is under the most pressure in 24? Dak or Jalen, Philly?
I would say Dak. I mean, you're talking about 9 years. You're talking about 9-year career, right? He's 9 years in the league and has not won anything in the playoffs. At some point, the regular season stats don't matter. What he does to me doesn't matter. It's what he does in the playoffs. And right now, Dak Prescott is labeled a guy that cannot win a big game. So to me, with a guy who's trying to get a new contract with a team that has him going into 9 years, he has to be under more pressure. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts doesn't have pressure, but you can't tell me that Dak Prescott is still not, it's not more of a pressure type season for him. And if you are willing to say that, then what you're saying is that it's okay and that the Dallas Cowboys and their fans accept losing. And they're perfectly okay with losing. So
Mark,
I think Dak is.
Okay. I hear your answer on that. But here's the thing for Dak Prescott. You say, is there more pressure on him than Jalen Hurts? The reality is Dak Prescott knows I'm going to get paid big time unless something catastrophic happens. That literally my leg is taken off. Be it with the Cowboys or be it with another team. I can guarantee you that the Raiders would back up the Brinks truck to have him in there, especially since they don't really have a quarterback. And
to your point, Mark, if you give Kirk Cousins $48 million, you're going to give Dak Prescott
can I say something?
But wait, let me finish now. Let me finish my argument. Because see, now here's the thing. We know how you Eagle fans are. As you always put it, we don't put up with mediocrity. We will get rid of somebody, even if it's a coach that's won the Super Bowl. If you don't fall in line, you're out of here. And if you have Jalen Hurts have a bad season after having one great one in his career, now all of a sudden you start looking and saying, was that year the exception or was that the rule? So he's definitely under pressure here too, because they've moved on. They've got now supposedly the boy genius as far as offensive coordinator. He's got a team unlike the Cowboys, because we can look at the Cowboys and say, shit, they haven't even signed their number 1 wide receiver. You guys have 2 wide receivers that are paid in the top 10. You got one of the better tight ends. You've got a great offensive line. And you look at that and say, you have everything. If you don't succeed and evolve into more of a pocket quarterback, then you're going to be labeled as to that guy who kind of was a running quarterback that was kind of a gadget guy.
Yeah, but you know what? I got to say this. Your barometer for success is, well, Dak Prescott's going to get paid anyways. You're worried about what he's going to get paid, what he's going to make. I'm worried about wins. We're worried about winning. Who cares about how much money or what Brinks truck's going to get backed up?
Okay,
what
then
about
let me ask this
winning a Super Bowl? You can't tell me
Dak
hasn't
won one yet.
Playing double the amount of time he's played in this league and has won nothing. You can't tell me there's no pressure. If there's no pressure on him to win, because it's not about winning, it's about him getting paid, then he truly is a loser. And Jalen Hurts, it's about winning. You got to go out and win. And that's what we care about. I don't care how much.
I hear what you're saying.
Mark, wouldn't you agree, Mark? Wouldn't you agree that more pressure is on Jerry? Because what you just said, it's actually now this year irrelevant if Dak wins or not. Because here's why.
He's a loser.
Quarterbacks don't get paid on winning Super Bowls. They get paid on numbers.
Yeah.
Every one of these quarterbacks, no one's going to tell me that Trevor Lawrence has been paid because he's winning Super Bowls. He's 0-1 in the postseason. There's only one guy in the top 10 that has a winning record in the postseason, and that's Mahomes. No, Mahomes and Burrow. are the only two that have wins. So, at the end of the day, Dak's in really the catbird seat here. You either fucking pay me or you don't. I'm going to go somewhere else. You see, Cousins just got $50 million. He's 37. I'm going to make $55 million out there.
Yeah, no, and
Cowboys, Jerry's got a lot of pressure because winning's not going to matter on Dak's case. We're over for Jalen. Jalen Hurts, there's no question. He has to win. Or guess what they're going to say? You know what they're going to say? It was a one-year wonder.
Well, you know what? The Eagle fans hold their guys to higher accountability.
Which is why he's under more pressure.
I don't care about Dak Prescott, how much he gets paid. I care about my guy winning. And that's why Dak Prescott, every year he goes in the playoffs and stinks and chokes, they make excuses for him. So I think the priorities of that question are different. He's worried about what Dak Prescott's going to get paid. I'm worried about whether my guy's a winner. So you got a team in the Eagles that are worried about winning, and you got a Cowboy team that would rather get paid and lose.
And there's actually two other questions, Mark, to that point. There's actually two other questions to what he just said. You're also worried about money with Parsons, and you're also worried about money with Lamb. That's got nothing to do with winning, really. I mean, your off-season issues has been, what bag of money are these guys going to get? Whereas in Philly, these guys are trying to put the chess pieces together to try to win an NFC championship. There is a difference in mentality here.
Well, here's the problem, though, because you can't really put apples to oranges because, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I look and say, you guys go out and you get yourselves a good running back in Saquon, where you already have two really good wide receivers. You already have an established offensive line. Yes, you're losing your center, Kelsey and things and having to upgrade. But when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, where we've got CeeDee Lamb, where you guys will say he's really a slot receiver and not really a game changer.
Yes.
Okay. And we bring back Zeke Elliott. So you're looking at this and saying the Cowboys don't have the weaponry anywhere close to what Jalen Hurts has. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, completely.
So if Dak fails with inferior talent, okay, that's bad. But you look at it and say he only had one really good receiver. If Jalen Hurts having Saquon, having the offensive line, having Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Goddard,
there is big pressure there.
If he fails, then looking to say you had everything and you failed.
It is a $180 million offense.
Yeah.
I get it. The question wasn't whether there's not pressure on Jalen Hurts. It's who's under the most pressure. I just was under the assumption that winning is what we're talking about because you play the game to win the game. You play it to go and chase the rings. And what Mark is saying is, I think, the effects of being a loser team for 30 years, where he's already building in the excuses of losing. See, he's already talking about, well, we don't have this, and we have Zeke, and we have CeeDee Lamb. It's like built-in excuse after excuse after excuse.
Dak
Prescott
saying, hold it. Are you literally saying that we're not handicapped by having Zeke Elliott versus a Saquon?
What I'm saying to you is in the totality of it, you're using an off-ramp already. We're getting ready for the season. We're going to train, and you're already off-ramp. But that's your team's fault. What about the years? And then what about the years that Dak had good players and a good offense? He still didn't win. When you had Kellen Moore, when you got rid of Kellen Moore, let's be clear here. Hold it. Let's be clear here. Dak has never had the amount of talent that Jalen Hurts has had out there, dude,
bro.
I disagree with that.
Never,
100%.
never, not at one time.
I'm sorry, that's just not true. Early in his career,
but then not having the great receivers or tight ends.
You had Zeke. You had the one. You had Maury Cooper, Cedric Wilson. You had
Cedric
Lamb was a rookie.
Oh, wait a minute. A wide
Gallup
receiver
before.
Gotten 600 yards.
Hey, let me tell you something.
That's a great wide receiver.
How many
Giesick was there too.
How many touchdowns did Dak Prescott throw that year? 37 touchdowns.
So
he was a number. Wait. He was a number one seed, and you went into the playoffs and you lost again. So every time,
and you should have been a number one seed.
And you
should have been a number one seed, and you lost 6 of 7.
Yes, but Mark, we
how is that any
responsibility for our actions, and we fire the coaches, and we go out and we try to fix it.
Well, I can congratulate you.
You've already made
on your front office.
You've already come on here before camp has even started and you've made excuses on why you're going to lose and why it's not Dak Prescott's fault. We haven't even played one game, and you're already making excuses.
I'm going to say, if we do win, if we are a 12-win season, if we are winning the division, it's not by anything that the Cowboys up front office and people did, because they're not bringing in the people to do it. You'd have to actually give your quarterback credit, because he's actually making making lemonade out of lemons. You can't look at this and say it's like Brock Purdy, who's got Ayuk and Deebo Samuels and Kittle, and having Christian McCaffrey and a great offensive line. These things are not equal. You guys admit, we can all admit that the Dallas Cowboys have done absolutely nothing from last year's team to make themselves in a better position to win and go further than last year.
That's not a good enough excuse anymore.
No, it's not.
It's not a good enough excuse anymore. It's been an excuse for 9 years with Dak Prescott.
I can't.
Dude,
okay, well, I tell you what,
you've already told everybody. You've already told everybody that when Dallas chokes again this year, you've already told us all we can put this video on in January, and we're all going to see that the excuses were being made are going to be the same.
Okay, and if your team does not win the Super Bowl, then what are you going to say?
I'm going to say we better get better. We screwed up.
That's what you're saying, that your team is ready to win the Super Bowl. You've gone out there. You've gotten great personnel. You know, you got Saquon and added to them. You got the boy Wonder.
You're putting words in my mouth.
You right now are the Super Bowl favorite. Everybody,
all I said was that my team is accountable to try to win. We're trying to win. If we don't win, I will say they screwed up. But right now, at least we're trying to win.
I'm already telling you.
At least we're
screwed up
trying.
with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, you're already making excuses.
There it is right there. Dak had Cooper, Cobb, Zeke, and Witten.
Jason Witten was a shell of himself on the way out, okay? Randall Cobb, believe it or not, Randall Cobb. Now, this is where you were so wrong last week, and you said that Dak Prescott doesn't elevate anybody with him. Randall Cobb had a 1,200-yard season, then an 800, a 600, a 400, and a 388 when they released him from Green Bay. He comes to Dallas, and now all of a sudden we're saying that he's a great receiver. With Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, he elevated to 865 yards, got a $27 million two-year contract from the Texans, and immediately went back down to 440 yards.
So you're saying Dak Prescott elevated players? That
was a great talent, because with Aaron Rodgers, he was down to 388 yards.
So you're saying you're saying that Dak Prescott elevates players. That's what you're saying?
Actually, yes. Take a look at
then what happened versus Green Bay? Why didn't he elevate anybody?
You can only elevate as far as you can.
Okay.
He still had 405 yards in the game and 2 interceptions. Now, you can go through and say that's a bump, but here's what's funny.
Here it is.
No. Let's take
the Cowboys lose, these are all excuses. If they win, it's because Dak elevated everybody.
No, but hold on for a second.
Get the hell out of here with all that crap.
No, one point before Dan asked this question. So let's take Dak Prescott throws 3 TDs, 2 interceptions, 405 yards. They score 35 points, right? Trevor Lawrence throws 5 interceptions, throws 5 TDs. They score 31 points, and they win. So does that make Trevor Lawrence a great quarterback? And
There's not expectations in Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, wait a second. How did those
dude got $55 million a year?
In what situation did those touchdowns come? Did they come in the second quarter, or did they come with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter? I think
Trevor Lawrence, all of them came after the first quarter, because he threw 5 interceptions in the first quarter.
They were down 30-something, right? I mean,
they were down 27 to nothing. And their defense
came back and won. Why didn't Dak
plug in and only gave up 3 more points the rest of the game?
Man, everybody's excuse, everybody's fault but Dak's.
Here. Let's go to Jalen. I got a question. Mark, I'm going to ask you this one first, and then I'm going to follow up with Philly 500 on this. We all know last year was not a very good year at the end of the season for Jalen Hurts. By the way, Jalen Hurts didn't play. He didn't suck. It just wasn't. And it seemed a little bumpy. A lot of turnovers. There were fumbles, the offense, what have you. And they took the read option away and the RPO away a lot last year. My question to you is, does Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts need his legs to be an elite quarterback in the NFL? Because last year, when the legs were kind of taken from him, when a lot of executives said he was injured, he even had a brace on at times. When his legs were taken from him, he didn't look elite. Okay? And now when they just came out with the top 10 quarterbacks, they don't even have him in it. They don't even have him in. Jeremy Fowler doesn't even have him in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFC. So does Hurts need to have his legs to be an elite quarterback in this league? Because if you take one of them away, it seems he's not the same player he was in 22. First you.
Yes, he does. Definitely does. That's part of the game because, and I'll even say with Dak Prescott, when you move the pocket, when you get him outside, it's a hell of a lot easier than being in that pocket because now that cornerback is worried. Are you going to run the football or are you going to go ahead and throw the ball? And so he's literally put onto an island. And Hurts is so dynamic and so good at running. I'm praising him that you have to worry about him taking it to the house. If you take it away from him in the same way when you look at what happened with RG3 was never a great pocket passer. But because he could get outside and everybody's worrying about him running, they're leaving the receivers over. It's just an easy, pitch and catch. The receivers got all kinds of space because he's left wide open.
And Greg Cosell came out this week, who breaks down all these quarterbacks and says that Jalen Hurts is not really a good progression reader when it comes to sitting in the pocket. Now, I say this to you, though. That can be worked with. You can get better. Brady says you can get better with arm strength and get better on reading defenses.
Yes,
see, I think the Eagles have jumped they've jumped levels on developing him by not developing the 22 Hurts, and they want him to be a pocket passer because if they take his legs away, in my opinion, I don't think he's an elite quarterback. If they keep that intact and they run him, do you know what he ran? A Philly 500. I'm going to go over to him now, Mark, okay? You know what they ran him? He had 165 carries. He averaged about 12 carries a game. You add another 24 because he missed those 2 with the shoulder injury. He was on pace for like 195 carries that year. Those 195 carries made that guy so elite on 3rd and long. I kept doing this every game. He's going to get this. He's going to get this. He's going to get the first down. Last year, I never said that one time. I thought every time he was in 3rd and long, because they were having him drop back, it was a 50-50 proposition. So I'll ask you, does Hurts need to have his legs for him to be considered an elite quarterback?
Let me say this. Keith Saunders, man, congratulations. Keep up the good work, man. I'll say this about I'll say it. I think that, one, if you have a talent and you have an ability, I think it's criminal not to use it. So if he has legs and that's what he does well, I think to take it completely out of the game is bad. Now, I also think Jalen Hurts is still developing as a passer. So I think he can become a pure pocket passer. I do believe that. And I think that when we talk about last year, we also need to think about all those games where he couldn't run because he was hurt. He had a one leg. I remember the Cowboys game.
The point, though, then.
There you go.
But what happened? They were 10-1, but they were 10-1, and a lot of those games they won, he pulled out at in the fourth quarter.
But you would even agree then? Would you not agree though that if you say he was hurt, he wasn't the same quarterback as in 22 because he couldn't rely on his wheels.
Not with his legs. I think it's fair to say he wasn't as good as he was the year before. That's fair. But he still had a 10-1 record. And let me tell you, I will never forget the Cowboy game, the first game, where he couldn't even walk off the field. And what did he do? He stayed in the pocket because he couldn't run, and he lit the Dallas Cowboys up in that second and third quarter. So to me, I think Jalen Hurts has the ability to be more than just a guy that has to use his legs. I think he's still developing, and he still needs to use them. And I think it's criminal if you have a coach who doesn't want to use it at all. So I look at it like, yeah, currently he needs his legs, but I don't think in the long run it necessarily has to stay that way.
Can I toss him a bone?
Go ahead.
Because I think about, to me, one of the best athletic quarterbacks out there, that it's a damn shame that he got screwed up with not having a real offensive coordinator, and that was Randall Cunningham. Seeing him when he went with the Minnesota Vikings, how he developed into an incredible pocket
with Brian Billick.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Brian Billick was his OC under Dennis Green,
right?
And that's how Brian Billick got that Baltimore Ravens job.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch the way he played up there, he was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's where you wish that he had that kind of coaching on early in his career. But I don't know that Jalen Hurts
had it early, but he lost it when his quarterback coach died. But he had a couple good years. He had some good years throwing the ball to Randall, you know.
He absolutely did. Okay. Philly, your biggest concern going into training camp in 6 days?
Edge rusher. I still want to see these edge rushers and how that they're going to develop, because I feel like with Reddick gone, that's a legitimate concern. You know what I mean?
Bro, Philly, Labs the same shit every time, like Skip Bayless.
How about 100? Hey, listen, if your arguments work, then use them. I mean, you know, if we're having the same discussion, why would I not put up new arguments? It's so stupid. It's like, hey, I got a brand new house I'm living in, but why are you living in that house every day? I mean, stupid. Shit. That's like a stupid comment.
Okay.
Greetings from Norway. Dingbat Nation, we rise. All right, hey. All right, Philly. So yours is edge rusher. Mark, for you, what is your biggest concern going into training camp?
The big man in the middle, man. Defensive line, man. I'm still concerned. Mozzie, of course, had shoulder surgery, so he hasn't been able to work out. And I like a lot of beef in the middle. And Keith Sanders, congratulations on losing the 10 pounds. You know, they want me in here. They need me in here, bro.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this to you about, you know what Mozzie needs? Footwork. He needs a class over there with the Fred Astaire dance class.
There you go.
Something like that, because, hey, your boy, he moves like a Philly, this is how this guy plays defensive tackle. Like he's like Herman Munster. This is
come on, man. Look, it was just his rookie year, man. And he hurt his shoulder at Thanksgiving. Come on. Take it easy.
Better be more worried about holdouts than players.
Oh, you're hoping for the holdouts, man.
I don't care.
You're hoping that we implode, man.
I just hope you sign everybody. Just sign them, pay them the most money you can. And just have a great cap space going forward. It'd be great.
Philly, who has a better coordinator, Vic Fangio or the Cowboys and Mike Zimmer?
I like Vic Fangio over Zimmer. I'm not super high, so I'll go Vic Fangio.
What about you, Mark?
I'll take Zimmer, actually. I think the advantage that Zimmer has is a relationship with the Joneses, which may make him easier to get along with as far as working with the organization. And quite frankly, you may be looking at him getting an audition to be head coach, in which case Jerry Jones will be working with him closely.
Let me tell you what Dave Wannstedt said yesterday on the program here, a guy who owns 3 Super Bowl rings. Mm-hmm. He said about both guys, there's one thing that both organizations are going to like or not like, is that when these guys talk, they don't really give a shit if you like what they're saying or you don't like what they're saying, because just look at what those Miami guys did. Those Miami guys were belly aching and bitching and crying about Vic Fangio. They broke a sack record down there, and they were doing pretty good until they ended up getting hurt. And I asked him bringing up the Philadelphia Philly 500. I go, what do you think he brings? He goes, well, I'll just tell you this. There's going to be a no shit kind of scenario there, and you better buckle it up here. Mark made Viv that Zeke was better than
Ooh,
Barkley?
I did not. That's a liar there.
He also said that Parsons was LT. So,
No, he
is what
didn't.
it is.
He can't say no. He didn't.
I said
He did.
he's done a few things like LT starting out his career. Numbers wise,
he said he's
What,
LT.
he plays edge.
yeah, there you go. See,
He
kiss my
plays
ass,
edge.
kiss my ass.
Name me one thing that guy does better than Lawrence
I
Taylor.
tell you what, man. Are you going to really
Podcast.
show up to Cowboys training camp? Are you
Yeah.
really going to show up, or are you going to leave me holding the bag?
I go there almost every year to go visit and see Steven.
Okay.
By the way, I get invited
man.
there.
Okay. Yeah, let me be a fly on the wall with that one. So let me smack Steve.
No, that's why I know T. Higgins is being kicked around the Cowboy complex right now. I'll tell you what, Philly, if they get T. Higgins and they have CeeDee Lamb on the other side, and their offensive
That'd be
line
great.
is not bad. They're pretty good in the middle, especially at the guard position. That could look like something. And
no chance.
Philly,
I don't even chance.
you don't really have anybody to guard them on your defense.
But it won't happen. They can't even sign their own players. They're not going to go out and trade for a guy.
Well, I tell you what.
I know. I know for sure.
Here's what I will say, because there's rumors of, like I said, Michael Thomas and Justin Simmons coming in for workouts on Friday. Now, whether or not that happens, I don't know. But I think right now, if I gauged Cowboy fans as where we've been this year, Cowboy fans are really pissed. And the Joneses need to do something to kind of turn that narrative around as we get into training camp. And all of a sudden, if the Cowboys were to pull off something like that, all of a sudden, that is a major buzz. That changes the narrative all the way around. And also, that would truly help the team. Because, see, the thing about Mike McCarthy is Mike McCarthy likes to spread the ball around. He likes to have a lot of different weapons and things. And if they do have a T. Higgins out there, oh, my God, they're going to be able to spread out the field where that offensive line is not going to have to hold up as long, and it's going to make it more effective.
The Cowboys,
what would it
the
cost
Cowboys
them?
and Ayuk wouldn't work because they're not going to trade inside the conference. That's why T. Higgins is more of the target, because the Bengals would trade out of the conference. They don't want to trade.
What are they asking for?
City.
You
don't want Kansas City, Philly, getting a hold of T. Higgins.
What are they asking for, though?
I don't know that yet. I haven't.
But yeah, they're kicking it around. But I'd give up a first for that. But if you're talking about blowing it up,
like they did Devontae, because remember, right now he signs the he's still under the 5th-year option. No, wait, I don't know. He wasn't a first rounder, so they gave him the franchise tag. He signed that. So he's got 14 something right now, or 15 something, or 18 something. I don't know what that number exactly is, but that's where he is. So they would give him 1 year to be able to restructure a contract and work something, I don't know, like they did with Devontae Smith, because they're not going to pay him more than what they're paying CeeDee Lamb if they drop $36 million on CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's not Justin Jefferson. They're like,
he's going to want 20. He's going to want 20 million probably.
Well, he's already.
I think he would want 25.
Okay, here's the thing. Hold on. He's already on the franchise tag for this year, which is $21 million.
You could theoretically drop him on the tag again next year too.
Right, you could, which would be probably about 27 or so. But if you're saying we're going all in, what the fuck? This is an all-in move to try and see if you can win it all. And I will say this much. If you do that, then Dak Prescott does not have any excuses whatsoever, because now you've got an up-and-coming tight end.
He shouldn't have any now.
Yeah. You got 2 really good wide receivers and a third that is actually not bad. You've got a young offensive line. You don't have a great running back, but I would take that in a heartbeat.
How about this, Philly? 2 last ones here for you here, okay? Here it is. When I look at our Eagle defensive linebackers and I look at the linebacking core, how come I look at it like this? I don't see any difference from the first team and second team, which usually means you don't have no team. I mean, is that not a major concern going into this, especially when you've got to take on early tight ends and quarterbacks in the beginning of the season? Look at this here. And again, it's not about your offense here. I mean, Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur are going to be going against that defense that is untested, unproven, what have you. You have potential and you have projections on that defense. Then you got to take on the Falcons. Kyle Pitts is pretty good. What linebacker do we have that's going to cover him? The Saints, I don't think they're very good. The Bucks do have Mike Evans. And then after the bye, you've got that Browns team with that tight end they have there, Naku. And then you also have Chubb. And you also have, I don't think Judy's anybody, but I do think the other guy on the other side, Amari Cooper, is pretty good. 1,000-yard receiver a year ago. He's not spectacular. And it comes down to the quarterback. My problem, again, is going to be on that side of the football for you guys. I mean, you've got a lot of hope. It's just hope.
It's July, Sills. Every team has hope right now. Hope and projection.
Well, when I look at Kansas City or I look at Baltimore and I look at some of these other teams, I don't have as many question marks on their defense. Maybe a little bit on.
Well, I think it's fair. I mean, I think it's fair to say that there's question marks on defense. I have question marks at the edge. I have question marks about some of the linebackers. I think that's fair. Who's going to stand out? I still think Devin White was an extreme upgrade for that position. I think for the Eagles to get him, he's an extreme upgrade from what they had 1 year ago. And what I would really like them to do is take guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Cooper DeJean, and find ways to use them against tight ends and stuff in certain situations. But yeah, I mean, tight end, I mean, a linebacker is it is a legitimate concern. I think that's fair to say. It definitely is. Who's going to step up? We're going to see. But I do think Devin White was a good signing for the Eagles.
The Higgins conversation is real. And I got that from somebody at at Valley Ranch. So,
I am.
You mean the star?
99.9999% sure Dallas will not do anything to get Higgins.
You're gonna have to give up equity for him for sure because they're not going to give him away for free.
Won't happen.
That'd be a first-round pick and then maybe a third. But then again, I don't know because you know why some of these guys have been dealt for less. I mean, Stephon Diggs was dealt for less, and let's not forget something about Higgins. He's not a one. The guy in that building in Cincinnati is Jamar Chase. He's a one. So you don't have that distinction. It's not like trading A.J. Brown.
And
you can't tell Higgins that, though. He signed a franchise
about it too,
you think he's a $35 million guy?
Not me personally, but if you sign him to a franchise tag, then that's what are they saying? That's what they're saying.
It's
to
21
me, if you're signing a
million.
guy franchise, you're
fair.
saying that.
But
it's fair. Okay.
Here's what. Let me add to this real quick. If you're Cincinnati, you know that after tagging him this year, you're not going to tag him again next year.
Well, here's the history.
He's going to go. So you look at it.
History, Mark. The history of Cincinnati. Anybody they've ever tagged, they've never brought back the next year.
Right. So in which case you may look at this and say, if I can get a second, or if I can get a couple of thirds or something for a guy I'm going to lose, I'm better off getting that now than him just walking after I pay him the 21.
I think Cincinnati's more likely to let him walk and keep him one more year and try to win this year than
that's one of the problems with the Cowboys is they always hold on to guys too long till there's no value in them. Smart teams will end up saying, okay, this guy's going downhill. New England was famous for it. They trade a guy who's a Pro Bowler right after that, get a pick from the Cleveland Browns and get somebody else.
Or player of the year like Stephon Gilmore. He was
right.
an NFL Defensive Player of the Year. They moved him to Carolina. All right, last one. Mark, is there a can't move you think the Cowboys will make that significant for the upcoming 24 season? And I'll ask you the same question on the Eagle one here, Philly. Go ahead, Mark.
The Cowboys always do aging veteran signings in training camp. And Joseph is one on the defensive line that's been kind of rumored and thought that would be signing. I think they've been playing the whole Stephon Gilmore that they do want to bring him back, but they didn't want to sign him to a 2-year deal. And I think they're just kind of rolling the dice and let it kind of marinate, and hopefully he ends up getting desperate and not having a team and end up re-signing him.
They've been kicking the tires on Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay. They've been kicking the tires on that because Tennessee wants to revamp the football team, and they're looking for draft picks to try to revamp that team to the best that they can. But again, there's a brand new head coach in there. So Jeffrey Simmons, the Eagles don't need that position. Obviously, the last 2 years, Philly, they've gone first-round draft picks at both tackle positions. But Simmons would be a massive upgrade to the Dallas Cowboys. You put that guy in the middle next to Dexter, and you have Mike on the other side. That puts you in the category in the front four next to the New York Giants. How about you, Philly? Do you think that the Eagles have an in-camp move yet to be made?
I think the Eagles are going to trade Bradbury. I believe he will go. I just think they're going to. Howie's going to play it out as good as he can. I expect camp to start. They're going to build his equity up. They're going to talk about how good he looks, and they're going to try to trade him. Now, I think there's a couple targets, and I think it's going to depend on how the camp is going, how things are looking at certain positions. I think safety is a position you got to watch for. If they look at a guy like what's his face, Justin Simmons, if they look at him and they say, we could use an upgrade there, they could do something like that.
Played for Vic.
Yeah. I also think edge rusher. Don't be surprised if they're not liking what they're seeing maybe early by Nolan Smith or Huff. Don't be surprised a guy like Judon, they go and they try to pull a move or something like that for. Yeah, out of New England. So, I think there's moves to be made, but Howie is usually pretty good at kind of waiting, seeing what he needs, and then reacting off of that. And I think he'll do something because that's just his track record. I just, what it is, we'll see.
But you, Mark, I mean, you think there's going to be something there where you're looking at there again in camp. Like you said, they're always looking at aging veterans. So it's going to be somebody probably more in the defensive tackle position. You don't think it'd be another wideout, or that they wouldn't be looking at a guy like Kareem Hunt?
They may, but like I said, there's the rumors out about Michael Thomas. And don't
you think they need somebody like a Kareem Hunt or a Cam Akers or something like that?
They definitely do. But will they? I don't know. I'm not even sure what the Cowboys are doing. I wish I knew, but it makes no sense whatsoever that they pretty much have just stand pat. So
all right,
nothing would surprise me.
You guys have been absolutely great today. A lot of intel. Now, I'll leave this first with you. One last parting shot towards Philly 500. What's your biggest bitch about Philly 500?
My biggest bitch?
Yeah.
Oh, that he never shows up.
Let me write it down. Never shows up.
Write it down. Write down.
Okay, where were you last week?
I was with my daughter on her birthday.
Oh.
Well, wait a minute. You can't give me the maple syrup bullshit up there in Vermont.
I missed
about it.
I missed one. So wait a minute. We got a birthday. We got a graduation.
You missed one what? You missed one what?
I missed one show.
Well, I mean, you act like I've written a contract here and I'm not showing up for work.
Literally went out having videos saying Mark Holmes is scared. I literally
You were literally in a safe house.
Okay.
We all know that was an FBI safe house.
He did say, okay, Philly, what is your biggest complaint about Mark Holmes?
That Mark can't accept responsibility for Dak Prescott. He makes excuses after excuses instead of speaking the truth.
Okay. I hear you.
That's it.
That's it?
Nice and simple.
You two
it's
guys.
Not that I will take out the trash or do the laundry or I leave my dishes
that's your wife's beef.
How many videos a week do you think you do on Dak?
Oh God.
Every video he does is on Dak. Well, even if it's not about Dak, it turns into a Dak video by the end.
Shit, you roll with what's hot. Okay, everybody else is talking about him. Why can't I?
It doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, Lordy.
Dude, like aliens could show up on the White House lawn, and by the end of the video, it's about Dak Prescott. Somehow, some way. We all know.
Oh,
hey, Mark, tell folks how they can find you, please.
Every Wednesday here on the Dan Sileo show at 3:30. But if they want to get some real content from me, it's JAKIB Sports Report on YouTube, as well as Facebook, as well as Twitter and anywhere else. Just look up JOBU, Jobu Sports Report.
And Philly 500.
Mark isn't just a fanboy of Dak Prescott. He's the president of the fan club. Let's face it.
Oh, God.
Just type in Philly 500.
Wait a minute, Mark. You mean like the Sierra fan club, man? This guy's like one of those dudes?
Yeah,
no, it's not.
Like the Taylor Swift kind of guy? He's like one
no,
of those
it's not like that.
Oh, so he's a Dacky.
Oh yeah.
He's
I think Mark would rather
have
Dak Prescott than the Cowboys win.
Are you a Dacky?
I'm not a Dacky. I didn't even heard that before.
So you're now officially a Dacky.
A Dacky. Okay. All right. Well, we're just gonna have to go win the whole fucking thing. That's all we.
That ain't gonna happen. My most anticipated video that I'm waiting for one day is the day that Dak Prescott leaves Dallas. I cannot wait to watch him.
It'll probably end up being your biggest video, like me falling out of the chair.
I think it's going to be the greatest thing. I'm going to do like a reaction video, a blind reaction video to it, because it's going to be epic. He's going to be so heartbroken. He don't care. He's already made excuses for Dak for the playoff games that he's going to lose this year. So, I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right, guys. Great as always. Make sure you check out their fabulous websites. I can't thank both of you enough, especially you, Mark. Again, you come in here and you get two dudes coming off the top rope on you. So we appreciate it.
I was nice today.
You actually were. Nice. He was. You know what? I thought
very
Philly,
nice and tempered.
You know why? I thought Philly because, some of the things, Mark, that happened this past weekend had a little bit of pride in him and didn't want to go a little nuts. Look at your face. Don't go there. I'm just saying he had a little bit of American pride in it because, he's a little concerned about some,
Okay.
All right. No. No. We're good. There it is. Look at him. All right, guys.
All right, let's roll. Fight. Let's do it.
Fight. There they go, man. Absolutely fantastic. Both those men, man. Xander Krause is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Absolutely great stuff. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey. official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Xander's going to join us at the bottom of the hour here. We appreciate it. Dak will win a Super Bowl only if he leaves Dallas. Correct. 100%. 100%. Okay. And I do believe that. I think the organization, hey, maybe the same thing can be said about Jalen Hurts. That he may have to go somewhere else to win. I mean, then again, I don't know if he can go to another organization that's going to put the type of talent around him that he has now. I don't know if that will be the case. By the way, before Xander comes on here, before we set a topic here, I want to throw this at you here. You see what Elon Musk did with Caitlin Clark? He gave her and offered her a $10 million endorsement deal for X. And you got people actually, that would make her salary $38 million this year. In endorsements, you know how much money she makes as a WNBA player? She makes $37,000 this year. Her base pay is $37,000. She's going to make $31 million more. This just in. Hey, WNBA and WNBA media, if you want to give Angel Reese, who doesn't deserve the Rookie of the Year, by the way, a fabulous player, but if you want to give that and you want to go that route because you're trying to make a political statement on something that I don't know what you're talking about, have at it. Because you know who owns the money belt? Caitlin Clark. You can keep all the fucking awards you want for other people. You can hate on her all you want. Every week, she triples the money that anybody in that league makes. That's why they're mad at her. They're not mad at her because she's going to win the Rookie of the Year or she should win the Rookie of the Year. They're mad at her because white America is supporting her. Elon did this, I think, for a reason. I do. There's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You said, Sills, corporate white America. Larry Bird did the same thing for the NBA back in the 80s. He brought white corporate America back into the sport that had not had those companies in it. Why is it so difficult for you guys to talk like that? Lisa Leslie made $85K a year. That was the league max in 2002. She makes almost $40 million now on endorsements. I can't believe people have a problem having this hard conversation. I think Angel Reese is playing great. Okay, she deserves it. Sure. You can have it. I'll take the $40 million. Sure. Okay. You can have every single award you want. The most dynamic player and the person that's making the biggest impact on that league and the person that has made a Tiger Woods impact in the WNBA ain't Angel Reese. It's Caitlin Clark. And you can't take it. You hate it. Because it's a racial, political, or what have you agenda to you. Instead of just saying, here we got a polarizing chick who's bringing money into the sport. They just signed a brand new multi-platform deal that's going to play billions of dollars to the WNBA to raise salaries. Angel's part of that. Absolutely. Look at Prince. Sills is Fox News? No. Still speaks what's on my mind. Are you trying to tell me you don't think white corporate America is now pumping more money into the WNBA because Caitlin Clark's in it? That's not a racist comment. It's the factual comment. It's not racial. By the way, that helps African-American girls that are in the league too. Jesus criminy. If I had a money cow in my league and it helped raise my salary, no matter what I was, would I care? No. Absolutely not. If you can't take conversations like this, you're clearly in the wrong place. I mean, dude, you have got a money cow. Everyone should benefit. Everyone. The entire league. Good for them. Good for the league. Good for all the players. I think it's fantastic. Caitlin is the Eminem of the WNBA. And I don't mean that as an insult either. Okay? Hey, this is not a bad thing. Who cares? 70% of America is white. Of course it makes a difference if a white girl's balling. Right. And more money to the league, more money to the players. Twiz. How's that a bad thing? Why can't people actually have a conversation about that? Why do you have to pretend you can't speak on it? Because that's what it is. It's not a racial thing. It's a race thing. Okay. Both aren't the same. She did change the market demographics and the amount of airtime. Jalen, isn't that how you create more market money and create more wealth for your league? When you're selling more advertising spots, when more people see the advertisers that are advertising in your league, isn't that how you raise salaries? How is that? That's not racial. It's race, but it's not racial because it helps every other person on your roster. Get this. This dumb fuck doesn't see he's pushing one-sided agenda right now. I am? You're not having a conversation. You're pushing an agenda. No, I'm pushing that a white chick is elevated to demographics like Jalen said, which means you sell more advertising spots to benefit everybody on the team. How in the world is that one-sided when it affects everybody? No, Prince, what you don't like is you don't like somebody that's come in and changed the face of your league. Get this. I'll do it, and I'll end it here. Here. You can have the Rookie of the Year. I'll take the $40 million. Woo! Give me that money belt. How you doing? All right. We always have to do this before we get into our topic. So let's bring in the co-host of Birds 365, the legend himself, Big Z.
What's up, Big Sills?
What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Oh, good. All right. I thought Philly 500 laid up today. I didn't think he really hammered him a lot. I thought Mark was able to get his bullshit because he's watching the show. Mark, thank you for it. By the way, we love you, Mark.
We do love Mark.
All right, man. So let's give it. Was it closer today? Would you go Holmes or would you go Philly 500?
Look, this is the Cowboys Super Bowl time, right? This is when it's like we're gonna be the best in the league, and maybe Philly didn't want to beat up on his son too much today, and I'm all right with that. But you're right, Philly did take it a little softer on him today. But like I said, it's July. This is. Oh,
so this is Cowboy season.
This is where the Cowboys bread is buttered. This is Cowboy City, baby. July. So. Philly let him get a little bit of shots in today, and I thought that was good. But great stuff. I thought both of them were great today. I appreciate them always when they come on. So
all right. So before I get going here, I'm gonna I want you to play along with me here. And here's me, and I know how you're gonna react to this. So Nick Serianni was asked a question about, was he concerned about getting fired? And he went into this interview thing. I think it was on SI, something. And he was like, really can't concern myself with anything that's going on. You know, I was just concerned. But then I was really feeling sorry about Fletcher Cox and Kelsey, and those guys, because it was their last season. I was like, hey, dude, nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody cares if you're feeling sorry for them or what have you. I mean, do your job. You get those guys got paid $15 million a year, and you're feeling sorry because you let them down and you didn't get the. I mean, dude, this guy here, he's unbecoming of a head coach in the shit and how he talks. You know it as well as I do, Xander. You and I don't care how he feels about Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox's last game and how they performed and him feeling bad. That's the shit we talk about, the immaturity.
With Nick?
Yes, with Nick.
Look, I'm waiting to see on how Nick looks this year. I think you're going to see a new Nick Serianni. He's going to be a little bit more mature this year. Look, when you come off a Super Bowl, Big Sills, in your second year as a head coach, you're naturally going to be confident and you're going to, think your shit doesn't stink. That's a natural thing to think. And after now a pullback last year and potentially his job on the line coming into this year, I think it's put up or shut up for Nick Sirianni. I think he knows that. Now his role is different inside the room, which is going to be a big change, but I think you're going to see a different Nick this year. I really do. I don't think you're going to see that 38-year-old Nick you did when he was hired, who's chanting at Kansas City fans and all those different things. We'll see. But, I think Nick's going to be a better coach this year, and he's going to become a more mature coach, which is an evolution he needs to have.
How can you be a better coach when you have no jurisdiction over any part of your team?
Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, he doesn't run the offense or the defense, but you and I both know coaching in the NFL, there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. Now, you're right. I've questioned what is his role on this football team, and it's the CEO, head coach, it's the spokesperson, it's organizing all the practice or whatever it is that goes into being a coach in the NFL. Which, admittedly, most coaches say it was more than I thought. There's more non-football to do as a head coach than you would expect. So he's going to do all that stuff. And look, if it works, if our defense is good under Vic and our offense is good under Kellen, Nick's got the last laugh. They're not going to move on from Nick if they're successful. So look, let's see how it plays out. I think he's going to be a better coach this year. At least I think he's going to be more mature, and that will go a long way, I think, in keeping the track on the rail, or the train on the rails till the end of the season, unlike how it went last year.
Okay, let's get over to one of the topics here. So, what made Jalen Hurts, in your opinion, dynamic in 22?
Everything. I think he was a flat out playmaker. I think when he went out on the field, not only did we believe it, but he believed it. He believed that, if you give me the ball in my hands, I'm going to break your back on defense. If you mess up in one moment, whether it's a pass, whether it's a run, whatever it might be, RPO. And I think he had confidence. I think he loved what he was running. He believed in what he was running, and he really found his rhythm in 22. You didn't see that guy last year, even when they were 10-1 at the start. He had a decent season. He started hot, beat a couple really good teams, and really had a clutch factor going on there early, but it still wasn't the same guy. I went back and I've been rewatching each game of last year. NFL, if you're like a member on NFL, they give you the condensed game and you can roll through it with no commercials and all that stuff. It wasn't the same guy. And I think it's true. He didn't really play that bad. I think we've exaggerated how bad he played was, but he just didn't have the 22 factor that took him over the top and made him the MVP caliber quarterback. We got to see him get back to that. And, admittedly, I am concerned that he's not going to get back to that. I don't know, how much is missing physically and how much his body took a beating and what he's going to be able to do. So we're going to see, but Hurts definitely has to get back to form this year. And if he doesn't, we're going to be having tough conversations at this time next year.
And, this is an old school Philly mentality here. Hey, what have you done? You've lost a Super Bowl. This is about winning them, not losing them.
I mean, look, we got more Super Bowls in the last 15 years in Dallas, more Super Bowls in the last 25 years in Dallas. We're the only two teams. Us and the Giants are the only two teams with a Super Bowl win in the last 15 years in the NFC East. We've won the NFC East more times than any of the other teams since 2000. So, I mean, look, you're right. We only have one Super Bowl. It sucks. But if you're going to compare, Team A to Team B, Dallas and Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys have flat out stunk since 2000. They haven't won shit. You guys have a wild card win. You have one wild card win. That's not success. You're right. We got to win more Super Bowls. I will never deny that. I'll never deny that fact. But come on, if you're going to compare the two teams, the Eagles have been a far more successful team in the 20th century. And by the way, I think the Giants are too. The Giants have 2 Super Bowls. You could have
been to 3.
Are they 3?
I think that it may have been 99 when they got beat by the Ravens. I think the Ravens are 99, so it's 2.
Okay, so right in there. So yeah, 2. I mean, add that in. They're 3. I mean, I just know Eli Manning has 2. And now they've had their moments of being at the bottom, but their top has sure looked better than Dallas's top has in the last 25 years. So don't even give me that. Don't even give me that shit.
Absolutely. Okay.
Game time.
The reason I ask you this,
game time, 21st century.
Hey, the reason I ask you that is because of this. Then, does the Eagle quarterback Jalen Hurts need his legs to be an elite quarterback in the NFL? And if he doesn't have his legs, like he did, and like this, check it out. Last year they said he was playing through injury.
Yeah,
he had a brace on. He didn't look the same running. It affected his passing with the turnovers last year. They had him throw the ball more. In 22, I proved the point he was on pace for 190 carries versus what they did last year to him. And especially in the second half, they stopped running him because of the injury that he possibly had in his leg. Xander, if he doesn't have his legs, I don't think he's an elite guy.
I don't think he's elite without the legs. I think he's good. I mean, I think he can throw the ball. I think he's proven.
Don't they know that?
Yeah, I think he's a middle of the pack guy without the legs. And that's part of what made him great in 22. You asked that question.
A dynamic player.
Physically, it was the more dynamic nature of how he approached the game. He could kill you in any way, through the air or on the ground, and whatever you took away from him, he capitalized on the other. And you kind of saw that go away last year, to your point. But without the legs, yeah, I mean, he hasn't proven that he's elite throwing the ball. Now, he, as far as I'm concerned, he still has the legs. At least we think, and that's what I said to John.
Are they going to use that? Listen,
yeah.
My question will be this. Do you really think they're going to have him run the ball 190 times when they just gave a guy $10 million at running back in a position that traditionally, when's the last time the Eagles invested that kind of money for one player at running back? They did the collection in 17 with those 2 dudes, those 3 dudes, right? So it was more of a collection of a group of guys. When's the last time in your lifetime, Xander, do you remember them going out and spending $10 million on a running back?
Who's the guy we traded for? DeMarco Murray. Remember that when they traded for DeMarco Murray?
I
mean, what a bust that turned out to be.
Oh man, I forgot that thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, this right here is a good point, and we haven't talked about this probably enough. Richard Jackson said, Xander, it's called the defense. He needs it even since Alabama. And forget Jalen Hurts. I mean, every quarterback needs a defense. And Dan, you do have to factor that in, right? The offense struggled last year, and I was very critical of them in the playoff game. You put up 9 points. You're not going to beat any team with 9 points in the playoffs. So, I get the knocks on offense, but the 31 ranked passing defense last year, it's tough.
I think the Eagle offense hurt the Eagle defense and their growth.
Well, I think the Eagle defense, it went both ways.
Well, we knew that they were going to have a little slow start after losing 7 starters, that you were going to have some growing pains. And when you started getting 3 and outs, and you were going 3 and outs, and you were turning the football over, losing field position, what happened was that team never got a chance to get going like it did in 22 when they had those 4 drives in the first half, and you're going 12, 10-play drives. The other team's getting the ball 9 minutes. You're putting your defense in a great position in 22, whereas you put that defense in a horrible position in 2023 because of the ineffective consistency on the offensive side. And I think it wore them down. I thought they were going to get better by the middle of the year, the defense. But when the offense fell apart, it imploded the defense as well. And then Patricia obviously didn't help.
Yeah, it's kind of like a what came first, the chicken or the egg conversation. You know what I mean?
That's
because
true.
The offense, you're right. The offense couldn't sustain drives. And when your defense is gas and you go out there and you have 3 plays and they're back on the field, I mean, it's going to be tough for them to regroup and be able to be as effective as you want them to be. So, it's an interesting conversation. The whole team has to get better. I think that's what we're proving every time we have this conversation. The defense got to be better. The offense has to be better. It's interesting. I'm the more I talk about this defense with you on Birds 365, I'm not confident in our defense. I'm really not. I mean, I think it's accurate to say we're approaching the season with more potential, but we're approaching the season with more questions maybe than we did last year.
It's projections and potential. That's the biggest problem.
I mean, but even the sure things, man. Like, what would you say? What are the three most surefire things that we have on defense from a positive perspective coming into the season?
You're going to get a good scheme from your coordinator.
Okay, that's a really good one.
I
agree with that.
My opinion, and again, this is an opinion. I think Carter's going to continue to get better.
I do too. That's where I was going. And now I was thinking more personnel when I brought this up. So think guys on the field. Carter was one of them, and that's the one I feel the best about. But what are the other guys?
Gardner Johnson is going to make plays back there.
Okay, and he played 2 games last year.
I got it.
My point is, you're right. He's the one piece I feel good about as well. But if he doesn't stay on the field like he hasn't for the last 2 straight years now, that's a big concern. The other definite, I would say, is okay. We have Darius Slay. He's a proven cornerback. He's also 34, going on 35. How much of a step back does he take this year? So the defense is loaded with questions. Now it's loaded with more potential. Linebacker is still the island of misfit toys. It's a joke, that room, but let's see what Howie can do. It's still July. We'll say that. I mean, each of the last couple years, Howie's added a player late. I remember doing football 24/7s with John McMullen, racing home and getting one up because, it was Steven Nelson a couple years ago. It was Gardner Johnson the 1 year late. I mean, they bring in guys late. James Bradbury was late when they brought him in. So let's see what Howie does. I think he's going to assess camp, see where the weaknesses are, maybe get some feedback from Vic Fangio on where they need help, and maybe Howie makes a move and goes and gets somebody. There's a couple players out there that I think Howie would sniff out. And the other thing, you can't take away from Howie, he finds deals, when other GMs don't. So if there's a player out there that he wants or that he thinks he can get, I think, Howie will do it. And we'll see. We do have that cap space, Dan. It'll be interesting to see if they want to use that or hold it and roll it over into next year.
I think Slay's going to have a Pro Bowl season.
Really?
Because I think Slay's going to go back to playing the 22 style of defense. Now, it all determines on the pressure.
He's 2 years older.
He's 2 years older. They got to get, but
he can't tackle a traffic.
What Patricia wanted him to do was play man. When he took over, that's not his game.
Yeah, my worries with him are less about being a skill, are less about the cornerback position and more about playing football. And he's not, if he can't tackle, all those other things.
He didn't have to tackle in 22. Though. They didn't have to tackle in 22. They played center field because you got 70 sacks.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, Slay is definitely
comes to the pressure.
The thing with Slay is though he is there's most definitely he's on the other side and he's coming down now. So we're gonna see how far. Maybe you're right. Maybe he steadies it out.
He's on the back 9.
He's definitely on the back. He's on the back 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see. Hopefully he can be good. But to the point though, he's one of the proven guys, and he's a big question mark. Questions all over the defense, man.
You think you have the advantage going into that Packer game defensively over Jordan Love?
I wouldn't say that. You mean defensively in terms of how their offense stacks up with our defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, they're not a great offense. They don't have like amazing weapons everywhere. I'd have to look at who they added this offseason.
They destroyed the Cowboys in that playoff.
They destroyed the Cowboys, but that's a credit to Jordan Love. Like my point is, they don't have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith there.
No.
They have a couple.
No, they have Jordan Love.
Right, and he's played very well. So, him alone creates a mismatch on our defense. I think he's probably going to be able to pick apart our zone defense. But can they get the stops when they need to get the stops? Can the offense stay on the field and do their job on their side of the ball and slow it down? So we'll see. I think the Packers offense though is better than the Eagles defense. If that's what you're
asking. How about
asking.
this on that Monday night game? You think you have people that can stop Kyle Pitts Bijan Robinson, Kirk Cousins. And I think they got a wideout. I forgot who they signed.
Is
What?
that
Week 2. It's Monday night, right after the Friday game.
Right. They got that extended. It's almost like a mini bye week coming out of that first week because they play Friday night and then they don't play until not a mini bye, but you get those couple.
No. It's a little like it's an extra 2 days.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see that's going to be. I think
London. That's right. Drake London's the one.
I think Atlanta's a little bit slept on. They've added some
They're
players.
all top 4 too.
Yeah, and they have Kyle Pitts hasn't really had his breakout, but he's a talented player. They got Drake London. They got a couple of other players they have Bijan Robinson. And now you put Kirk Cousins in there, who's he's good for 4,500 yards as long as he stays upright, and he stays upright 95% of his career, with the exception of last year. I think they're going to be a sleeper team. Eagles have a tough open here, especially for an offense that's going to be trying to find its rhythm, a defense that's in the same boat. 2 new coordinators, and it's going to be an uphill climb for sure. It's not like you're walking into the Panthers and another, the Giants. You have a tough couple games there, right, in the open.
Like the Browns there too, like we said, David Njoku.
The Browns, to me, they're either going to be great or they're going to suck. But I think they could be great.
How about this one here? The Bengals. Higgins, Chase.
Yeah. Bengals are good, man. Bengals are good. I picked the Eagles to win that game just because I felt, that would be the game. If you need Jalen Hurts to be an MVP, that's the game you need him to be the MVP, and you need him to put the team on his back a little bit and go and win that ball game. And that's my projection coming into the year. But there's no doubt about it. That's a good team. That's a good quarterback in Joe Burrow. That's a tough test for sure. No doubt about it.
What NFC quarterback is under the most pressure in 24? Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, or Jared Goff?
Purdy, Prescott, Goff, or Hurts? I would say not Goff, because I think Goff has silenced a lot of critics. And he got the game.
He's got a $53 million
deal. No, I'm not saying he can underperform, but when you're talking about real pressure, I would say Dak doesn't either because they didn't pay him. He's coming in now on a lame duck year. In a way, he could almost say, "Fuck you, Dallas. I'll play mediocre for you, and I'll get $55 million, $60 million."
Cousins was the reason that made him feel better about his position.
Exactly.
Because Cousins got paid the same as he'll get paid, but he'll make more.
And now Dak is probably, look, it's natural. Dak's probably feeling some sort of way about Dallas. They just won't give him this money, and look, I'm not the biggest Dak Prescott guy, but he has done more to earn a contract than many other quarterbacks who have gotten a contract. Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, you could argue Jalen Hurts on only one good year. Other quarterbacks are getting paid in the league. Dallas is making Dak wait. He might be like, yo, dude, fuck you, and that might happen this year too, which would be interesting. So I think Hurts, man. I think it's Hurts. It's not Purdy. What does Purdy have to lose?
Well,
Baker Mayfield just got $40+ million. Daniel Jones is making $40+ million. Brock Purdy's another guy. I took you to the Super Bowl. If you don't want to pay me, F you, somebody else will. And I've already proven to you how good I can be when I'm in the right spot. And so I don't think the pressure's on him. I think the pressure's on Jalen Hurts. He's already got the money. He got the contract. He's only, the critics are out because he's only put up one great year. The collapse coming off of last year, the coaching carousel, the Nick Serianni on the hot seat. I think it's on Jalen Hurts this year. The $175 million offense. It's all on Jalen Hurts. And if he doesn't have a good year this year, you're going to see the media turn on him, like not just locally, but nationally. You're going to see the media turn on him hard, So
they've already started. I would say this to you. What if Hurts has the same type of season he had a year ago, but you guys go to the NFC title games and you get beat and he has the same season? How will you look at that year?
Well, it's a team game, so I think you would look at it as more successful because your team was more successful.
Wouldn't you say this, though? Maybe we don't have the guy that could take us over the top.
Well, it depends how it looks, because 22, you saw him almost take you over the top. Now, if But to your point, you said if he plays like last year, which he didn't look like that dynamic player last year. So if he looks like that, maybe those questions do arise. How much, the conversation almost becomes they didn't win because of Jalen Hurts. They won in spite of Jalen Hurts, with all that talent on offense. And that's what the conversation could become. But look, if we make it to the NFC title game, I'm going to be pretty happy with the team. And I think,
you think that'll be good enough for them to go forward with Jalen?
I think 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because look,
even if he looks like the same guy a year ago,
there's no continuity coming into this year. So if you get far enough next year where you don't lose a coordinator and you don't stink so much that you don't lose everybody, you have the chance for continuity. And that's what folks will hang their hat on. And, I understand it. Jalen Hurts was tremendous last time he had continuity. Look at what that did for him. MVP season was Shane Steichen. So, that's the argument that will be made. And I think that's a fair one, to be honest with you.
I loved what you guys said and what John said today. I was tuning in. I was going back and forth. John McMullen's right. Xander, my problem with your defense when we're talking about lining up against some of these other prolific quarterbacks and talent you have to pay, your second team is no different than your first team linebackers. That's so frightening that no matter what you put out there,
you could have the third team
still below mediocre.
Yeah, it's true. Look, they've just devalued the position to no extent. We're going to see if they add somebody there, if they're alarmed at what they say. But evidently, the team is still pretty high on Nakobe Dean. They still think he's going to be a player. I'm with you. I don't see it. I haven't seen it yet. One, he's only played, 4 games in his NFL career. He didn't look great in those games. Can't stay healthy, undersized. I don't see it yet with him, but that's who they're hanging their hat on, him and Devin White. I mean, they believe that Devin White is going to be some version of a solid linebacker to give them something. And I don't see it yet. I mean, maybe it's just from listening to John for 2 hours a day. He is not high on Devin White. I mean, he says, look, I believe my eyes. 5 years is not a small sample size. The guy hasn't been good in 5 years. I'm not high on him. So maybe I've been a little bit warped from that conversation consistently on Birds 365, but I don't see it. I mean, they don't have much at the linebacker room. I mean, we're talking about Oren Burks and Zach Bond for crying out loud. So you're obviously talking about who, like you always say, who, they're just guys and they can be replaced. But the interesting thing will be like, will Trotter get a shot because of that? Or will some of these other, like John was talking about Ben Van Sumeren, the undrafted guy we took last year, who kind of is a really freaky athletic guy, didn't play much in college. Does it matter? If those guys are playing, it doesn't even matter really.
Seals, we don't really have to worry about Pitts. Heard your comment earlier. Some think he's a bust down here in Atlanta. Well, when you have Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, exactly.
You have Desmond Ridder and a shit ton of bad quarterbacks, how can you really make that assessment until you have a guy who's a professional signal caller like a Kirk Cousins in here?
Watch what Kirk Cousins does for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is, look, you're right.
Look what he did to Justin Jefferson. He got him a $35 million a year deal.
No, well, that's the tough part about Kyle Pitts. What was he taking? He was taking what, like 5th overall or 4th
he was
overall?
a top 5 pick or top 10 pick for sure out of Florida. I always thought too, they never should put him in.
He was taking 4 overall. So yes, he's a bust when you're looking at him from the 4th overall, but he's still a talented player. Cousins will get him the ball. He'll look better this year with Kirk for sure.
I want to read you something. I forgot to put this at the top of the program because I heard you guys talking about Devin White and I heard John McMullen. So you know what I did? I asked Bruce Arians about him, and I wanted Bruce to give me
that's interesting
assessment on him. And he won the Super Bowl with him.
Yep.
This is what Bruce Arians. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can to get Bruce on. I don't know if he'll publicly say it, but this is what his comments were kind of around. When you look at Devin White, it's a discipline issue. Sometimes he's not disciplined off the field, and clearly on the field, he's not a disciplined player. Like, you know what he'll do? They'll have a scheme, and he'll fly out of the scheme and not play disciplined football. And it drove Todd Bowles crazy that he would always have to try to come up with a different guardrail system for him. And that's what led to his benching, is that they tried to put him more in a structured defense early on in 22. Xander, his second year when they went to the Super Bowl, he played more in a system, and it created for him being a second-team All-Pro. Well, as the years went on, he decided that he didn't want to get hit, according to Bruce, what he thinks. He didn't want to take on the contact, so he thought he'd run around a bunch of shit. And that's what led to him being benched by a kid who was a UDFA and who they like even more, that KT kid down there now. And he said that he's got a discipline issue.
Yeah,
that's not a good thing to hear.
No, it's not. I mean, Vic would be a good coach to maybe get that out of him, but he also
he had Todd Bowles. If Todd Bowles can't get out of him,
he had Todd Bowles, and you've heard how Todd Bowles has spoken about Devin and how Devin has spoken about Todd. They love each other. I mean, Devin spoke about Todd and said he's a father figure to me, and that's the guy that put him on the bench. So you got to wonder, what went wrong there and why it went wrong, and that's something that's tough to get around. I mean, look, this is the NFL. It's a physical sport. Many wonder why,
it's mentally demanding too. Add that in there.
100% mentally demanding, physically demanding, and maybe Devin White, if he's actively trying to avoid contact, that might not be something you can coach out of a guy.
Especially when you're an inside LB.
I know when you're built, your money's made on contact.
Well, when you have Vita Vea in front of you, if you think about it, you know what happened after the Super Bowl? What happened after the Super Bowl to Vita Vea? He started getting injured and he wasn't out there a lot.
Yeah.
So that meant he wasn't keeping the guards and center off of him, which created more contact for the two inside linebackers. Hey, Levante David can fucking play. He is a ball player, man. You talk about a guy you can count on all the time. That guy is a ball player. Well, when Vita Vea started getting knocked out of there, Xander, that really led to the lack of run defense, and this is what led to his lack of being a productive linebacker in the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely a fair point. I mean, the other point about Levante David is what a guy to learn from. I mean, if you're Devin White.
Fantastic. All right, two last ones here for you. In your opinion, do you think there's another move, a camp move, that's to be made here as Howie goes into camp here? Do you think there's one more? I'm not talking about adding a Robert Quinn. I'm talking about a significant role move that you think, because there is 27-7, that money gets clipped down a lot to $9 million this next season, off season. So he's got the equity right now to do it. In your opinion, is there one here? Let me get this though. Sills Landers, he wants a new deal. Money talks. Maybe they need for money. Will get him playing better linebacker. Maybe. Go ahead, man. Appreciate it, Sean. Thank you, brother.
Sean, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Listen, I think on offense, there's not many moves you can make there other than if Howie wanted to get courageous and go with a wide receiver 3 and bring in another weapon, because it's kind of such a drop off after those two guys.
Or that Hendrickson kid from the Bengals. That edge rusher.
Yeah. Maybe edge. Look, I was going on defense next. That's where I was thinking.
Okay.
Edge, and then I was thinking, maybe Howie does want a surprise. Go pick up a guy who wants a contract that's a linebacker. I'd have to look at, who might be out there for the taking, but the biggest hole on defense is the linebacker room. So maybe they do address that in camp. I don't think it's safety. I think they feel okay at cornerback, which I'm comfortable with in terms of, I know they're not proven guys, but there are young, good players there. You added assets to the room. It's linebacker for me. And you know where else it is? Now, this might fall into the Robert Quinn category more so than the difference-making move, but they need depth at defensive tackle. I mean, it's almost doing a disservice to Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter to be like, okay, we lost 700-plus snap Fletcher Cox, Hall of Famer. You guys have to pick it all up. That really doesn't make sense. I mean, I think you want them to have a good rotation there. Now, Milton's going to pick up some of it. It's going to fall on all three, but I'd like a little bit more depth at that defensive tackle room just for rotation purposes. Keep those young guys fresh so that they can, when they're on the field, they're fresh and they're ready to go, and they can make an impact on the game. So that would be the other spot, I would say.
How about this, Sander, what you just said? So the Tennessee Titans are floating Jeffrey Simmons out, the star all-pro defensive tackle. Would you make him? Hey, let me. Here's why. Those other two guys are on rookie deals. they're not on $25 million contracts or $18 million contracts like he is. And I'm saying that you still have 1 or 2 more years left with those guys on their current contracts. You have a bunch of years left with Carter. You don't even have to address that. So would you make a move to go get somebody that dynamic and that dominant? Again, I don't think you'd have to give a 1 up. You'd probably have to give like a 2 potentially up for a guy like that. Look at Brian Burns, a 2 and a 5. But
I would have given up that for Brian Burns.
What's that?
I would have done that move for Brian Burns.
Yeah, but then remember, you also had to drop
made.
$25 million annually on it too.
Yeah, but look,
I'm with you. I would have done.
I think there's a little bit of an overvaluing. I think there's a little bit of an overvaluing across the NFL as a whole on draft picks, and I understand why. You get guys for 4 years. The contracts are suitable. You need them to build your team. I understand why, but I think in certain moments, especially when you're built like the Eagles and you have such a good roster, I don't think hoarding draft picks makes sense. And when you can get a difference-making player like that, and it's a sure thing, and you know it, like who did we take in the 2nd and the 5th round? We took Cooper DeJean in 2nd round, and we took Jeremiah Trotter Jr. You wouldn't give up those 2 guys for Brian Burns right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Now I know that's not an apples to apples comparison. I understand,
but I would do it for Jeffrey Simmons too, the DT and
that's what I'm saying. So if there's a guy out there that they feel like is a difference-making player, I would make the move. And I don't know if here's the problem with Simmons. If they do that, they're giving up on Milton Williams, and they know they're not going to pay that guy. Now maybe it's a good move, but I would
trade Milton Williams for a 2nd or 3rd then, because
you're not getting a 2nd or 3rd.
Jeffrey's. Oh yeah, you will.
No.
Oh yeah, you
Brian
will.
Burns got a 2 and a 5.
No, you would get a 2nd rounder for him.
For Milton Williams?
Yeah, but you could remember this: you're not paying the 25.
I don't see it for Milton Williams.
You're paying 50. Dude, that guy's going to get $15 million, $10 million in the open market. Someone's going to pay him that kind of money.
That's the thing. Are you projecting that he's going to be a good enough impact where you wouldn't need a Simmons, and then you just pay,
I don't think the Eagles can re-sign him for less than 10.
Who?
Milton.
Well, all right. So who would you rather have? Milton for
I'm taking Jeffrey at 18. With the 2 rookie deals. You imagine Jalen Carter and Jeffrey Simmons in the middle of the Eagle defense, and you drop that Jordan Davis on the nose?
Boy, that would be tremendous. Oh, my goodness, that would be good.
Hey, get this. Your secondary will have 2 all-pros back there.
Yeah, that would be nasty. That's a nasty front, boy. Now I like Milton, though. I will say, I think Milton, you're right there. What's that?
They need draft picks, the Titans, because they're trying to build their foot. They just lost Henry.
The Titans, they're run terribly. They are a terrible run.
They got a rookie coach. They got a quarterback they're not sure of. They got a lot of directions they got to go. Simmons is 20. I think he's 28 or 29. You're talking about an all-pro interior defensive tackle that's by far one of the best and dominant guys in the league. You put him next to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, those 3 guys will terrorize the NFC for the next 4 years. Wait a minute. Is he 26?
He's 26, Dan.
That's fucking insane.
Now he's 20. All right. Now here's the catch. So his birthday is July 28th. So he's going to be 27 in about 10 days, 11 days. So he's 27, but Milton Williams just turned 25. So it's not that big of an age gap. You're right. Boy, if that move is available, I would think about that move, because that's going to make.
If you got the money to go get him.
And that's going to be more insurance for the 2 first-round picks you spent on Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. That's going to make them better players. That would be an interesting move. Now, I think the problem with the move is that the Eagles are projecting Milton Williams is going to be that type of player. So they're going to choose to pay their own guy in-house and let him grow into that versus going and getting a guy like Simmons, which is going to take capital and the contract. And, that's where they'll probably hold on to those picks just from a valuation standpoint. I wouldn't. I'm with you. I don't see them doing it, though. I really don't. I'd love it. I would love it. You're right on it for sure, but I don't think they'll do it.
Jeffrey Simmons next to that guy in the Eagle defense.
Oh, man, that would be nasty, dude.
Your D-line would be better than your O-line.
Yeah, Jeffrey, and we've already fleeced the Titans once. They might not. Now he only played 12 games last year, 15 the year before that. So he's had his moments. 5.5 sacks last year in 12 games, which isn't bad. Peaked at 8.5 in 2021. When
that's
he
even
was,
better. He signed a
was
4-year
Pro Bowler
contract, so he's under contract now for the next 4 years. You would be acquiring his contract, so it's clearly probably under market value.
Yeah, it would work. It would definitely work. Now, if he just signed a contract, they're not trading him.
No. That doesn't necessarily mean that, dude. When you implode him, you start moving off of everybody.
Yeah, but
you're looking for draft equity. Shit, the Denver Broncos have been floating out Patrick Surtain the last 2 years. Why would you trade away from a guy of 24 years old?
Yeah, he signed a 4-year, $94 million. Dan, the problem with that is that they're going to have if you move on from him right away, your dead cap hit's going to be nearly $50 million. They're going to eat all the money. So it wouldn't. The earlier you move on from a player when you sign him, obviously, the more hits you're going to take as a team. So I would
remember what they did with Kevin Beard after they signed him because they didn't want to have the dead cap hit month.
What a
they
joke
restructured the contract to lower those dead cap hits.
What a joke he was last year, Kevin Byard. He sucked.
And get this, they gave him $10 million or some shit like that with the signing bonus and with the salary. One last one here for you, Xander. Cowboys kicking the tires on T. Higgins and potentially bringing him in and picking up that franchise tag of $18 million. I think it's $18 million, if I'm not mistaken, what the wide receiver, it could be 20, that they would be picking that up. They've got to stay with the Lorries, the Cowboys. They've got to stay up with the Lorries. It's not staying up with the Joneses anymore. The Joneses are behind. You got to stay up with the Lorries now.
Well, it depends.
You've got to start adding players to your team. Okay. And if they add that, does that change that dynamic a little bit more? Because CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins going against that secondary for the Eagles would kind of worry me a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, it depends how you quantify success, though. Jerry's world's like, hey, man, I'm worth $11-12 billion. I don't give a shit about Jeffrey Lurie and what they're doing in Philadelphia. That's probably how Jerry feels. But no, you're right. If they pick up T. Higgins, that's going to be a nasty offense. Look, we're in Philly, so everybody loves to shit on the Cowboys. I understand it perfectly. I'm wearing a damn Eagles polo. I know. I get it. I hate the Cowboys, too. Dak Prescott can play. And if you give him two weapons like that, along with CeeDee Lamb, that's going to be a good offense. And that would be something to watch out for. It doesn't mean I think they're going to win in the playoffs, but it would definitely make them a good team, make them a good contender, and at least show that they're in it. They what was the quote that Jerry had this offseason? We're all in or whatever. And he's done absolutely nothing. He's done absolutely nothing. So it would certainly show that they're pushing they're pushing their chips in and they're trying to get there. But I don't see it with that team. I don't see it with them in terms of doing everything it takes to go the distance. They're just not committed on all fronts, and I don't see them making that move. I really don't.
Let me just say this with the Cowboys here, and you're Dak Prescott going into training camp. Dak's in the catbird seat, don't you think? I mean, I think he's got them by the short hairs. I think he is telling them whether they signed a contract or not, whether he plays in Dallas or not. I love how he's handling this. The one thing you could say about Prescott's time handling his job in Dallas, don't you think he's handled it with dignity and being a face of a franchise? He's never been in trouble. He's never said anything really stupid. He's never done anything out of hand. And for being the most scrutinized guy in professional sports next to LeBron James, don't you think that guy's really done a great job? And now it's probably hard for you to give him kudos, but just take a look at it from the outside a little bit, Xander, and say he was maybe a Chicago Bear. Don't you think this guy's really been a really good leader? And that's the kind of guy you'd want in your football team. And he would be inviting to another team if you need a quarterback, like the Jets, maybe if they move off Rodgers.
I would generally agree with that. But the only thing I would say is if he was in Philadelphia, he'd be getting booed. He doesn't have enough success in 9 years.
Yeah, but Hurts is getting
booed with one bad year.
Yeah, but that gets criticized every single day of his career by everybody on the planet.
So does Jalen Hurts.
Not to the extent of Dak.
Well, that's because they're the Cowboys. So all the national networks love talking about the Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying.
But my point is, I don't think it's all unfair. He has 9 straight years of, non-success. And by the way, his team has been, it's not like he's had a bad team every one of those years. When they had the number 1 ranked offense, they had players all over that team. So if he was in Philly, I mean, this town would be erupting. They're erupting at Jalen Hurts for one step back last year after going to the Super Bowl in his second year.
Okay.
I mean, half the city's ready to castrate him. You know what I mean? Like it's a different setup. And you know, you're right though. Dak has handled the pressure well, but I'm not gonna look, like you always say. You want me to pay you? You want me to thank you for not robbing a bank?
Okay.
Oh, you didn't listen to the TV. Good job, Dak.
Hey, but remember this: Michael Jordan didn't win a championship until his 9th year.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, and he was getting blown out by the Pistons and the Celtics. Now the difference there was is that wait a minute, that guy had great regular seasons. You know, and getting the postseason, his team got. And by the way, they got swept by the Celtics.
That wasn't on my bingo card. Dak Prescott being compared to Michael Jordan.
No, I'm just saying. Well, Jordan didn't win until his 9th year.
Okay, and then he rattled off 6 in how many years?
Okay, hey, I'm just saying you give a guy shit because he's been in the league 9 years. Look, I agree with you on Dak, and I agree with you that quarterbacks are gauged by what they do. Yeah, Peyton Manning too. You know, Peyton Manning's only 11. He's like 14-13 in the postseason.
Look, I said I like Dak, but I mean, he's got to get the job done, and he hasn't gotten the job done. Yeah,
absolutely. Don't forget to catch our good friend Xander each and every single Monday through Friday in the morning. Mark Farzetta kicks it up. Then we have Birds 365 with him and John. They have great guests. They do a great job. Hey, by the way, I thought Dave Wanstead said some great things yesterday.
I know that's getting posted on the channel tonight for anybody that missed that interview. Just tremendous stuff from Dave Wanstead yesterday. Things, you know, he's optimistic. He loves
Saquon.
He loves Saquon Barkley. Yeah, so he was high on some of the moves the Eagles have made and how they're set up coming into the year. So a great interview there for sure.
Make sure you hit the like button. Xander, thank you so much, brother. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you check out Birds. Folks, I appreciate it. Xander, thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming aboard. Folks, do me a favor, hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. We appreciate you guys coming aboard. Please hit the like button. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was going to tell you at the top of the program in the first hour of the show that I had a chance to talk with some of the people down with the Buccaneers about Devin White, and his issues were more of a discipline issue. Playing disciplined football and keeping himself disciplined. That's you know what really sucks about that conversation? He has really good talent. He's a talented football player. And it's hard to move off of that. When you look at a guy like Devin White, he's a talented player. And the things that he's doing personally to himself, it's like self-sabotaging. Things start going south. All of a sudden, he doesn't stay within the system of the defense. That's what got him benched. Todd Bowles, Xander's right. Todd Bowles loved the kid. Todd loved him. Did everything he possibly could to keep him on the football team. Then he wanted the $100 million. And Todd kept telling him, your production is not equal to what you're asking. You have gone downhill ever since your second year as a football player. And the Buccaneers kept telling him, here was a guy whose value was $100 million at the beginning of the year. And by the end of the year, the Bucs gave him his walking papers. Think about that. You were a guy where teams, myself included, everybody was looking at him as being somebody that you might want to trade for. But at the end of the day, as the season went on, his value kept dropping every week. You know what? Again, here's another Howie Roseman projection. You're projecting that he's going to turn it around. You're hoping that he turns it around. Dude, because you can't say this about Devin. You know what he is. He's 6 years in. This comes down to mental. Can you coach mental? I don't think Vic Fangio is a guy that's going to sit around worrying about what this guy's mental state is going into a Sunday ball game. That's not what that coach is. That's why all those players down in Miami hated him. That's why they couldn't stand it. Was because Vic wasn't into that kind of style of coaching. Yale says like a lot of players. No doubt, Yale. Hey, you know what's crazy? Everybody that's a fan thinks that playing in the NFL, and I get it, and you're right, guys, everybody would break their back to be in a position to make $10 to $15 million a year. You're so right. So it's a weak-ass excuse, but I'm promising you, just like in any profession, you have a lot of things to deal with at once. You've got a lot of games being played by management. You've got a lot of interference. Do you know how hard it is to play in the NFL? Because it's not just based on who's the best player. It's based on where you're drafted, who's drafted ahead of you, who's your boss, is your coach on the hot seat, is your coordinator on the hot seat, all of that. Hey, do I play veterans? Do I bring another guy in? Do I bring in a dude? And get this, every single year when you're bringing coordinators in, you got players on your football team that have to reestablish themselves. That's a hard thing to have to overcome every year. And some go, Sills, they're making 50. That's right, no doubt. But it's still a lot. Not everybody's built where it's like, so what? How are we taking chances on potential in players relighting that flame? That's not a game plan, though. Hey, I'm hoping he doesn't turn into being a mental breakdown guy like he was in Tampa is not a plan. I'd rather sign a lesser player, Forrest, that I can rely on than a guy who could have a nuclear meltdown at any time in a season. You can't rely on that. Devin White is an unreliable player. When you have mental issues like that on and off the field, he's not reliable. You're going into a season with your two inside linebackers that says this. One guy you're not sure can play in this league, and the other guy is not sure in himself. Yale goes, I'm rooting for him. As a fan, you should, Yale. Me, I look at that as that's wasted ability. Are you kidding? You're rooting for him? My God almighty. Here's a guy that was second-team All-Pro his second year, captain of a team that won a Super Bowl, and you're rooting for him. Not to be a mental breakdown guy. Holy cow. I'm not rooting for anything but him winning. I hope he has great success. But get this. This has nothing to do with that. Yeah, what are you rooting for? That he doesn't have a mental breakdown? It's not ability. Twiz goes All-Pro incoming. All-Pro incoming. The guy is unreliable. He's unreliable. He plays well. You don't get rid of the 5th pick in the draft at 26 if he's playing well, and you don't bench him at the end of the year and let him walk out the door for nothing if you thought he played well. He got beat out by a TJ Edwards guy in Tampa. Come on, man. Stop making excuses. And by the way, I think that's weak. Suck it up, kid. You're blowing it. You're blowing it. Dude, I got more hope for Nolan Smith. Let's put him out on the field. Hey, here's the thing. You know what I want to do? I want to give Nolan Smith at least 30, 40 snaps a game. I wonder if the Eagles are going to do that. Give him 30, 40 snaps a game. Because you know what you'll do? At least you'll find out right away what kind of player he is. Either he's going to be good or bad. You did that to Brandon Graham. It took Brandon Graham. How many years did it take Brandon Graham to be a player in Philly? 5? How many years did it take Brandon Graham, would you say? 5 years? How many years did it take Brandon Graham? 5? Is that fair? Sills, can you find out if the Titans want to trade Harold Landry? I will. I'll ask Vrabel. Bob says 5 easy. So it took Brandon Graham 5 years to develop into being a football player that you saw, that you all embraced and endeared, and how he loved playing in Philly. Okay? But don't you all agree? One of the reasons that he was able to start to develop is they gave him plays. They started giving him reps. They were playing him. Right? They were playing him. Play these guys. Find out what you have immediately. This coddling of these younger players is so over the top dumb. It's like you're protecting your evaluators in your building from finding out if your players suck or not. It's almost like they're afraid to admit it that Nakobe Dean blows. They just won't admit it. Sills, he really doesn't have a chance to play. Well, why is that? Well, he's been hurt a lot. You drafted him hurt. You drafted him hurt. You actually drafted Nolan Smith hurt. Drafted Nolan Smith hurt. Let me go over to this one here. I want to go back one more time to that Hard Knocks show, and I want to give Howie Roseman some love here. Okay? You know the one thing I give Howie credit for? Howie talks with money. You know, he has a stupid way about himself too. The general manager of the Eagles has a stupid way about himself and how he deals with the media. But you know the one thing that guy does do? That if you're a player, you may know that he has some bullshit to him. But you know what? When he comes to the table and he has a contract with you and he wants to make a decision with you, this guy's going to come with money in his hands. Okay? Hey, this is what we're going to do. We want you to lower your base salary, and we're going to give you more upfront money so that we could take that cap hit down, so that we could do some more lateral movement on the defensive side of the football. And we'd like to sit here and do this. We're going to lower your base pay, Darius Slay, but here's going to be $30 million we're going to give you of the money that we owe you, especially if we're going to have cap hits. Here's what we'll do. We'll give you like whatever it was, $20 million. I forget what the number exactly it was. And if you're Darius Slay, you'll never get that number on the open market. An organization wanting to rework a deal for you, give you a bag of money. And if you're Drew Rosenhaus and you're Darius Slay, you look at that as a grand slam. So I take a little less money on my base. But how they compensate it out is they paid me on the back end of my contract a bag of money to lower the cap hits for them, and how I was able to monetize that and how I was able to equalize that. I'm all in on that. I'm 33 years old, 34 years old. I'm my last year in Philadelphia, and you got a team that wants to restructure and redo that kind of stuff for me. I am all in on that. But then you turn around, you look at the New York Giants, how they do business. God forbid, like Yale said, Barkley has 1,300 yards rushing and 500 receiving, and the team gets to the Super Bowl, and it goes through him. You'll look at that, and you'll go, the New York Giants, easily one of the worst decisions, the two worst decisions in franchise history, were re-signing Daniel Jones to that idiotic contract and then letting Barkley walk out the building for nothing. And it'll come under that stupid-ass Joe Schoen's direction. That guy even looks unbelievable. I mean, I don't believe him. Like, when he talks to you, he just doesn't seem genuine. I just want a general manager to be honest with me. You know, you could tell he didn't want to sign. You know what was really the catalyst? And I heard John McMullen talking this. How about this? When you came away listening to Joe Schoen talk about Barkley, you knew, listening to him, he didn't want to re-sign Saquon Barkley. You could tell in his voice. Okay? You could tell in his voice. Okay? You could tell in his voice he didn't want to re-sign him. You could tell he didn't want to re-sign him. Then he makes this comment. Hey, you'll give us the chance to match. And, you know, if you really want to be a New York Giant for the rest of your life. And you're like this. I told you guys, I would have said to my agent, fuck him. This guy's a liar. I don't want anything to do. I'll tell you what, if you're Saquon Barkley, boy, I'll tell you what, I would have a whole ass of retribution this year. Man. And I get to play in the NFC East, which is even more ill. Man. If that guy goes to New York and he has 150, when do they play the Giants? Week 7. It's in the Meadowlands, too. He goes up there, and that guy goes up there and rushes for 190 yards. That Giant organization, Joe Schoen will not survive that. He'll not survive that. Between the Jones debacle, then they turn around on Hard Knocks, and they put it out there. Well, we wanted Jaden Daniels to be our quarterback this year. We wanted to make the trade for him. You just drafted a quarterback 4 years ago in the first round and gave him $150 million and paid him $48 a year. What are you thinking? Making that public. I would have went to the Hard Knocks people. Get that off. I can't have my quarterback going into training camp knowing I didn't want him here. Why would you? How is that productive? If you're Daniel Jones, you have no loyalty to the Giants, just the same way that Barkley didn't have loyalty to the Giants, in my opinion, last year. I'm going to agree something with you guys here about Saquon Barkley. Do I think Saquon Barkley made some business decisions last year? Yeah. After watching Joe Schoen operate, do you agree that Barkley made some business decisions last year, maybe not to go back into games and maybe not play as hard as he should, so that at least he can get another opportunity at playing somewhere like Philly and getting a bag of money? When you watch that guy talk on Hard Knocks, how do you not come away going like this? Barkley had to make some business decisions, because if I'm Daniel Jones this year, I'm also making business decisions by saying this: why would I play hard? Why would Daniel Jones come back from his ACL injury a year ago? And if he's not ready to go, why would he go out there and sacrifice his knee for an organization that didn't even want him? Why would he do that? Would you? And you made that public. They made that public. Hey, by the way, do we not agree? Lamar Jackson did that. Lamar Jackson made some business decisions 2 years ago to get his contract, right? He made some business decisions. I think Barkley may have. I'm not saying he tanked the season. I'm not saying that. But if I've got some nicks and injuries. Remember, Yale, I said that last year? If you're a guy and you're on a one-year contract and you got an organization like the New York Giants who lie to people every single day the way they do, they lie to their top players. They lied to Barkley and Jones. If you'll lie to Barkley and Jones, you'll lie to anybody. Lie to anybody. That's the credit you give to the Eagles. The Eagles do this. Hey, and they may not be the most transparent, and they are not the most transparent people. Okay? They are not the most transparent people. But you know what they are? They are people. They are people that are going to give you the bag of money. Okay? Sills couldn't catch the show live yesterday, but had to comment on possible show name. Sills technical difficulties. Careful on the names. Acronym. I like that. No, my show had technical difficulties, and I said maybe we should call it that. Oh, okay. Whatever. I got it. I hear you. We brought. Listen. I want to go back to the topics we started the show off with. Well, I want Dak to do the same thing in week 6 this year if he doesn't have a new contract. Because Dak wants to put good tape up. Dude, Dak Prescott's going to get $60 million whether he plays or he doesn't. Some team's going to pay him that. Dak Prescott is going to have a lot of suitors. Okay? There's going to be a lot of suitors for him. Think about where he could go. If I were the Bucks, I'd take him. Here, let's do this with Dak. Bucks, Saints, Seahawks, Jets, Giants, Dolphins, shit, anywhere. The Raiders? Dude, you come up with half the league for Prescott. Go to Washington. Go to the Dolphins. Sills, what happens if Dak comes to Philly next year and wins the Super Bowl? Hell freezes over. How's that one for you? Hey, that's a hell freezing over one. Okay, Jalen Hurts leaves, and he goes to New Orleans. Okay, and he plays in New Orleans or something. Prescott comes to Dallas with Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator with Nick. They win a Super Bowl. There's a better chance of hell freezing over than something like that. Hey, I hear you, but Dak will have at least 10 suitors wanting to sign him for north of $55 million, DFW. Agreed. I totally agree. Hope Saquon plays well. If not, it will look like the Giants dodged a bullet. Harrison, here's what the New York Giants front office is hoping. He blows his knee out. And they moved off a running back that was damaged goods. Do you think John Mara is sitting up there hoping he has a good season? Oh, yeah, I really hope he has a really good year, except for the New York Giants. No, that's not how that works. If Saquon Barkley helps the Philadelphia Eagles get to the Super Bowl, he doesn't play that great against the Giants. Nobody cares. All they'll know is he helped them get to the Super Bowl. And he had an 1,800-yard, like John McMullen said, 1,800 yards or 1,700 yards total offense year. That's not good for the Giants if that guy puts that kind of year up. If Saquon Barkley has north of 1,700 yards of total offense, wow. That GM might not survive that like the GM in Tennessee didn't. And get this, John Mara didn't want to move off him. It's very evident in that Hard Knocks that John Mara didn't want to leave off of Saquon Barkley. He goes, did you see what he said? He goes, yeah, Barkley's the most popular Giant we have by far. And he made that clear. Yeah, I know. But, and I heard John McMullen say, it's the right move. When you're rebuilding, so the Giants are rebuilding then. Okay, as long as he's admitting that. Right? The Giants are rebuilding. You're not a contender. You got a $48 million quarterback and you're paying and you're not a contender. Wow. At least with Jalen Hurts, we're talking Super Bowl or bust. In New York, you're paying a guy $4 million more in Philly than the guy you have in New York, and you're not a contender. That is no sense. I mean, if Barkley didn't make sense at $13 million, does Daniel Jones make sense at 48? I mean, Barkley makes more sense at 12, 13 than Jones makes at 48. You can't rationalize that. That's what I'm watching this thing. My wife's watching this. She goes, this guy Joe Schoen can't add. He can't add because it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. It's the best player on the team potentially at least top 3 on that team. Everyone complains about what these quarterbacks are making, but it's all about supply and demand. There are 32 teams and maybe 10 to 12 quarterbacks not that could be a true franchise quarterback, maybe less. DFW, you're not paying for franchise quarterbacks. You're paying for quarterbacks that you think can help you win a Super Bowl. Because there's really, like you said, there's probably 4 exceptionally gifted players in the league that play the position. Lamar is a tremendous athlete. I don't know that style wins. Allen is a spectacular talent. Burrow is a great talent. Mahomes is a great talent. Maybe Stroud and Love get up there, but the rest of them, the Golfs, the Purdys, those guys, they're paying them guys because you can win a Super Bowl with them. They're not paying them because they're elite. Like the Jaguars think they can win a Super Bowl with Trevor Lawrence. Is he elite? No. The Arizona Cardinals are paying $46.1 million to Kyler Murray. Do they think that guy's elite? No. But do they think they can win with him? Yes. Is Jalen Hurts elite? No. But can Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl? Yeah. You see? So when you say supply and demand, DFW, you're paying for the kid who you think can help you win it. That doesn't necessarily, nobody would ever look at this and go, hey, Jared Goff's an elite quarterback. But do you think you can win a Super Bowl with him? Yeah, he's gotten 2 conference titles and he's gotten to a Super Bowl. Yeah, I think he can get to, I think he's an elite guy. Yeah. That's a case for the teams not wanting to start the quarterback search all over again. Hey, if you've got a really good, look, the reason that the Cowboys are in a pickle, that can win you a Super Bowl. And I mean, but one thing they've got to do in Dallas, they've got to stop getting in their way in the postseason. Get the fuck out of the way. They consistently get in their own way in the postseason. They overhype themselves, overvalue themselves. And you know what? They're never not. They're never prepared. The Cowboys have one guy. You guys pointed it out. They got like 1 or 2 guys that have ever played in a Super Bowl on their roster. Compared to the Eagles, can I show you something? I want to bring something up. Okay, I want to bring something up here. Let me show you this. I think this is an important thing on winning Super Bowls. Dallas Cowboy 2024 roster.
The first 2 are Brandon Aubrey.
Let's see here. How many Super Bowl players the Cowboys have on their roster right now? Okay, here's the Cowboy roster. Some of these guys I'm not going to even bring up. The punter, Brian Anger, no. Earl Bostic, tackle, no. Damon Clark, starting linebacker, no. Brandon Cooks, yes. Corey Grooms, no. Trayvon Diggs, no. Ezekiel Elliott, no. CJ Goodwin, no. Malik Hooker, no. CeeDee Lamb, no. Zach Martin, no. Now, here, I could go on. There's one player. Now, watch this. Philadelphia Eagles roster. Let's take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles roster here. How many guys on the team that has been to a Super Bowl? Reed Blankenship. What? Yes. Bradbury. Yes. Brown. Yes. Covey. Yes. Jordan Davis. Yes. Landon Dickerson. Yes. Gainwell. Yes. Gardner Johnson. Yes. Goddard. Yes. Graham. Yes. Hurts, yes. Lane, yes. Richard goes, who cares? Well, if you don't have people that have played in the game and know how to get to the game, how the fuck can you know how to get to the game if you don't have anybody that's been through that process? Newsflash, the Eagles or nobody is the Chiefs. Yeah, I'll get a translator for that. Super Bowl run prepared players that losing 2022 only fuels them. Dude, I'm talking about people that have gotten into a journey, that know how and what it takes to get to that ball game. Do you think there's any coincidence one of the reasons why the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs are constantly being considered as the top teams in the National Football League every year or in college football every year? Because they played in the semifinals every year. Same with Clemson. You got players, hey, when you play in a national title game, think about this, Yale. When you play in 3 or 4 national title games, you think the third one is going to blow your doors off? Or are you going to be overhyped for the very first one? You think Patrick Mahomes loses his cool in Super Bowls, knowing full well how the game will shift and play? You know, he really hasn't played spectacularly in all those Super Bowls. But you know what he has done? He's played the most and played the best when it mattered the most. If you look at his games, he's really not played excellent in those ball games. But what he has done is he's played when he needed it and when they needed it. That's right, Yale. That comes with experience being in those type of ball games, AFC championship games. Let me tell you what prepares players. When you play an AFC championship game at Arrowhead and Tom Brady comes in and he beats you in overtime, and you're a young player like Mahomes, and you lose to that guy, and you watched how that guy drove that team down the field to win that game so that they could go on and win that Super Bowl that year in New England. Dude, you talk about experience. You talk about being in that game. You talk about knowing what to do. How in the fuck can the Dallas Cowboys absolutely know what to do when it comes to playing in the playoffs or in the postseason or in any kind of situation? The Eagles are so far ahead as a roster to the Cowboys. Their young players have played in the game. Their young players have been through the journey of getting to the Super Bowl. Do you know how that plays out and how that helps your football team? Will that help? Hey, how many Super Bowl players do you have on your defense this year? Davis, Carter, Graham, Sweat, Milton, N'Kobe, Blankenship, Gardner Johnson, Slay, Bradbury. I'll say this to you. There may be a lot of youth over there, and there may be a lot of question marks, but the one thing they do know is how to prepare for the year. And they're going to tell the young guys, listen, you may get beat early. Devin White, nice. That's right, Kyle. Devin White over on defense, it may be slow. But you know the one thing that the Eagles have over there on that side of the ball? They've been through it. They've been through it. Seals, do you think Bradbury is capable of having a solid comeback season? I think that's why they're keeping him. Hey, I disagree with Xander and everyone. Nobody's trading for a $12 million contract. Nobody. Why would you trade for that when you're going to cut him? And then you could go highest bidder. And if you want to outbid somebody, you don't have to pay the $12 million. Say Bradbury gets cut during training camp by the Eagles, okay? And you wanted to sign the player, and you want the player on your team, like maybe Gannon wants him in Arizona. Why wouldn't you just say this? You go to the agent, and you go, well, what's the highest bid? Well, right now someone's offered $5 million. I'll give you $6 million. And then you go up from there. 6 versus 12. I'll take that, especially with teams where they are right. Hey, how many football teams do you think right now are in a position to sign a guy that's going to take home $12 million this year as they're getting ready 6 days out from training camp? How many teams? 2? There's no market for that. And by the way, if you cut him, it's only a 4-3 hit against that 27-7. That's not crippling. So to sit there and say you're going to trade him, I mean, nobody's trading for $12 million. And the cap. And what are you getting? A 7th? I would rather keep James Bradbury on my team than get a 7th rounder for him in return. Or cut him and get rid of him and give the roster spot to the other young guys. You become awful younger if you get rid of James Bradbury. I know you guys hate him. Everybody, hey, I didn't think Jalen Ramsey played great last year. And I do think too. Hey, it's a great point by Yale just now. I personally think the only reason that James Bradbury is on the team is because Vic Fangio wants him. I don't think that guy's going anywhere. I think the defensive coordinator, that's his call. Because Howie would have cut him. 4-3, that's not crippling. Would you rather cut the guy at $4-3 million or pay the guy at 12? Coming off a year where he was one of the worst ranked guys in the league. If you're Howie, economically, help me make that make sense. Right? Help me make that make sense. You can't. Still says Reddick was garbage when we had him. I said that the way they used him is the way that they ended up exiting off him. He's a one-trick pony, and he was. He's a pass rusher. He's not on your football team because he's a one-trick pony. He can't cover. He can't tackle. That's why they moved off him. And that's why 4 teams in the last 5 years have moved off him. As good as he is as a pass rusher. You tell me then, Richard, why is a guy like Hassan Reddick, with all these talent that you said, Cardinals, Carolina, Eagles, now the Jets. So in the last 6 years, he's been on 4 teams. Why? If you're an elite pass rusher, why are you on your 4th team in 6 years? If you're so great, Richard. Does that sound like who? Oh. Well, 4th team in 6 years. Big Sill said he was garbage. Well, last year at the end of the year, he sure was, especially the way you used him. All right, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Andy Reid saying how much he loves the leadership on his football team. It says that this is such a great group of men. These guys all know, prepare. You don't really have to coach them. We just sit back as coaches and watch these guys prepare for the upcoming season. How comforting is that? That you have a team that you have created as a coach and an organization where you just show up with your playbook and you're just going through drills. You're going through plays. You're honing your skills. You talk about not having to worry about anything about projections and prospects. These guys are just going about their business, and that is so ahead of every team. They are so ahead of every football team going into training camp. It's mind-numbing. Reads like this: we don't have to really worry about anybody because everybody's been over-preparing. They've been on their own. They've been doing everything. Every time we get to OTAs or minicamp, everything is hit. They run it. We don't. Get this. The players in Philly, they don't run their practices. The players in Kansas City do. That's a championship football team. Like, you don't, it has to get to a point where your players are the ones that dictate practice. Okay? In Philly, they're telling you what to do. In Kansas City, they know what to do. You're saying, Sills, but that's the best team in the league. Well, one of the reasons you go to Harvard or you go to Yale, you go to an Ivy League school is because you're going to try to find the best teachers possible to teach you how to be the best doctor or lawyer or what have you. No disrespect to any other programs, including my own. You don't go to community college to become a heart surgeon. I mean, you want the best possible teachers and the best way to go about your business and how you win. Just saying. All right. Great stuff. I appreciate it. Make sure you check out that Dave Wannstedt interview. Xander will have that up and running there at the JAKIB channel. So we so appreciate it. By the way, I thought that Mark and Philly 500 were great today. I thought you guys were all great. Thank you guys so much. Xander, Big Joe, we appreciate it. Please hit the like button, and we shall see you on the flip side.